At a basketball court, 3 bullies tell a boy that if he wants to play on this court, he has to pay them first, but instead of agreeing, the boy challenges all 3 of them to a basketball game. Sadly, the result is not what he hopes for, because the bullies easily defeat him in the game and then start beating him up as well. The boy's name is Epha, and while he is hurt, he tries hard to calm himself down, thinking that he is about to graduate soon and that his middle school days have already passed so quickly without him even noticing. 4 months later, at Xianqiao High School, 2 boys are talking while walking together, and they discuss how one of them manages to score 405 points in his middle school graduation exam. The boy wearing glasses tells the other that this school is full of elite students, so they will have to study and work much harder in the future to keep up with everyone else. As Epha listens to this, he quietly wonders whether the bullies he faced before will stay away from him now that he is in a new school. Just then, another boy suddenly appears behind them, and Epha carefully looks at him from head to toe, noticing his brown hair and the ear studs he is wearing, which makes Epha think that this boy might be a delinquent. To their surprise, the boy casually asks them if they have any toilet paper, which leaves them confused for a moment. After that short encounter, they leave the restroom and start wondering how many delinquents there might be at Xianqiao High School, and the boy with glasses comments that even students who look like delinquents are actually good at academics these days. Sometime later, Epha decides that he wants to go check out the basketball court first before doing anything else, and while heading there, he notices the same boy from earlier quietly sneaking toward the girls' basketball team changing room suspiciously. Unexpectedly, Epha follows him out of curiosity, and the 2 of them end up standing by a window together, peeking inside through the glass. The moment they realize someone is changing clothes inside, both of them get shocked and make a small noise without thinking or controlling themselves. The sound alerts the girl inside who hears them, so she quickly opens the door to check outside and see who's there, but she does not find anyone there hiding and soon goes back in to change. Even after that close call and near miss, Epha and the other boy still do not give up on their plan and move to another window location, climbing on top of each other to look inside again and get a better view. Just then, a group of boys show up nearby and start wondering out loud what the 2 of them are doing there in such a suspicious position. Instead of stopping them, the 2 boys decide to look inside the window as well, wondering what they are staring at with such focus. The boy looks inside the window carefully but can't find anything unusual there at all, so then the girl finally catches him red-handed in the act. However, the boy quickly looks around toward Epha, but he doesn't find anyone there as Epha has already disappeared. The boy then desperately tries to tell the girl that everything is just a big misunderstanding and explains nervously that they were absolutely not trying to look at the girls getting undressed or anything inappropriate like that. On the other hand, Epha and the delinquent guy walk around the campus together awkwardly. The boy tells Epha with frustration that it really sucks that they didn't get to see anything exciting in the end, but then he suddenly asks Epha how he intends to make it up to him to waste his time. Epha then nervously tries to leave and escape the situation, but the boy doesn't let him get away that easily, which makes Epha scared and worried. Epha thinks anxiously to himself that this guy is definitely a dangerous delinquent, and he must not allow him to find out that he wants to go to the basketball court to practice. After that tense moment, the delinquent boy notices the sports bag hanging on Epha's shoulder and asks him suspiciously what's inside that bag. Hearing that question, Epha hesitates nervously and doesn't know what to say, but the boy quickly grabs the bag from his shoulder and opens it without permission, finding a basketball inside. The boy then asks him directly if he wants to go and play basketball somewhere, so Epha reluctantly says that he does want to play, to which the boy immediately tells him with excitement that he will go with him to the court. Later on, they both arrive at the basketball court together where a bunch of girls are playing an intense basketball match, so Epha and the delinquent boy stare at them like complete freaks with wide eyes. Epha quickly gets the ball in his possession and shoots it straight towards the basket with a cool and stylish jump shot, but suddenly a boy appears out of nowhere and aggressively slams the ball back at Epha's face. It turns out, they are the same boys from before who got slapped hard by the girl because of their freaky and perverted behavior. Epha then asks them nervously who they are and what they want, to which they angrily say that just now, they got slapped painfully because of him, and yet he dares to forget about it so quickly. More importantly, they add furiously, that person who slapped them was Fei, a girl you don't want to mess with. However, Epha wonders silently to himself who that person even is and why this entire school is full of dangerous delinquents everywhere. He assumes and thinks that they must be allies with that delinquent guy who was walking with Epha earlier, but then he looks around carefully to find that boy quietly leaving and abandoning him. The delinquent quickly grabs his collar aggressively and throws him hard onto the ground. After that violent action, one of the delinquents tries to punch the boy with full force, but he skillfully grabs his wrist mid-swing and says calmly that he doesn't want to fight them at all. The other delinquent then throws the basketball towards the boy with aggressive intent, but he dodges it easily, so the ball ends up hitting Epha's face instead with a painful impact. After that moment, another delinquent then punches the boy directly and says angrily that people like them who act all high and mighty really make him mad. It turns out that this is Xianqiao High School, which is a good and reputable school with a beautiful environment and scenery which is only about 500 meters away from the sea and ocean. Epha had thought that he would be able to avoid delinquents and troublemakers here at this school and play basketball to his heart's content without any problems or interruptions. Epha never imagined or expected that he would be caught up in this kind of situation over his first few days of attending school here. The delinquents then keep on hitting and punching the boy repeatedly, who also hits them back with equal force and doesn't back down. Seeing that intense scene, the other guy standing nearby wonders out loud who is that first-year student who can actually stand on equal ground with Wei in a physical fight like this. Epha is completely stunned and shocked by everything. He wonders why this is even happening right now and why he is caught up in this violent fight at a school which is actually known for their academic progress and achievements. Just then, the girl from before arrives at the scene and tells everyone to stop fighting immediately. Epha quickly recognizes her as the same girl from the changing room earlier, but one of the delinquent guys calls her by the name Femi out loud. However, Epha thinks to himself that she is really pretty and attractive, but then suddenly, Femi notices Epha standing there and starts walking towards him with purpose. Femi cleans up blood from Epha's nose and asks him if he is alright, but Epha keeps staring at her melons. Seeing that, the boy who was with Epha also starts acting like he is injured, but the girl completely ignores him and asks Epha if he is a freshman. Epha tells her desperately that he just wanted to play basketball peacefully and not get involved with those dangerous delinquents at all, but Femi asks him seriously if he really doesn't know anything about what's actually going on here at this school. She explains to him carefully that he must feel it's really weird that in Xianqiao High School there are aggressive delinquents like Wei and the others causing trouble everywhere, but Epha responds innocently that Xianqiao is supposed to be a good and reputable school with high standards. Femi further explains the situation, saying that Wei and the other delinquent players specially enrolled specifically for the basketball team's benefit and strength. She adds that the school administration desperately wants a stronger and more competitive basketball team, so they enrolled a bunch of talented basketball students last year regardless of their behavior, and that's exactly how Wei and the other guys managed to get into this prestigious school despite being troublemakers. Epha then asks her curiously if the delinquent guy who was walking with him earlier also got into the school like that through basketball recruitment, but she replies thoughtfully that she has never seen him before around campus, and he should probably be a freshman just like Epha himself. She clarifies that the only players specially enrolled by the school specifically for basketball are now sophomores in their second year. She then adds that the current basketball team only exists in name and does nothing serious, and she explains that people like this cause a lot of trouble for the school, so she believes the new headmaster will most likely disband the basketball team soon. After saying that, Femi asks Epha for his phone, calmly takes it from him, and types in her own number, telling him that if Wei bothers him again in the future, he can contact her right away. Femi also tells him that if he still wants to play basketball next time, he is free to come and play with the girls' team instead. Hearing all this, Epha feels unexpectedly happy, mainly because he just got a girl's phone number. A guy who is extremely tall walks towards Epha and asks him what he is doing here in this place with that weird and strange guy. The boy just stares intensely at the other guy without saying anything until Epha calls him by the name Daan and tries to tell Daan about the boy and explain the situation, but he just turns around and leaves before Epha can finish talking. Daan then tells Epha that it was just a complete coincidence that he was walking by this area and happened to see him playing basketball there. Epha further says to him that when he got bullied badly when playing basketball in the past during middle school, he was the one who actually stood up for him and defended him, so he never would have guessed or imagined that he would come here to attend Xianqiao High School. Daan then asks Epha with a serious tone if that guy just now was bullying him or bothering him in any way, but Epha responds by saying that it's actually a long story to tell. Daan then asks Epha again with genuine concern in his voice if that delinquent-looking guy just now was bullying him or causing him any kind of trouble or problems, but Epha lets out a sigh and says that it's actually a very long and complicated story to explain properly. Daan then suggests to him helpfully if he doesn't want to go to the basketball courts near the Bay Area instead, as there aren't many of those kinds of troublesome people and delinquents that are causing problems. However, Epha responds sadly that if he went there to play, then he would end up playing all alone again by himself, which is quite painful and lonely for him. But for Daan, he says casually, it's all good and doesn't matter as long as he can play basketball and enjoy the game. Daan replies surprisingly that he actually has no interest in basketball at all, which confuses Epha. The next day at school, Epha receives a text message from Femi on his phone, telling him that they should play basketball together after school ends today. After school finishes, Epha excitedly visits the gym to meet up with Femi as planned, who asks him curiously why he arrived so early before the agreed time. At the same time, the bullies and delinquents from before are secretly watching them from a distance, getting extremely jealous and frustrated about why someone like Epha managed to pull and attract such a beautiful goddess from their school when they couldn't. Epha and Femi walk inside the gym together, and Epha is quite impressed by the facilities, thinking to himself that it must be great to always be able to play basketball here in such a nice place. Just then, some girls curiously ask Femi if Epha is her boyfriend or something, but Femi straight away clarifies that he is just a freshman, and she brought him here to play basketball with them and practice together. The girls express their concerns, saying they are worried that Wei and the other delinquents might try to mess with him or cause trouble, but Femi reassures them confidently, saying that as long as she is here with them, they are not going to do anything stupid or dare to interfere. Femi then tells Epha to put his stuff to the side so he can play with them right away, so Epha does exactly as instructed and prepares himself. However, he suddenly realizes with panic that he forgot his cell phone back in the classroom earlier. He quickly tells Femi apologetically that he is going to go back and get his phone right now before they start playing. Epha then thinks about how he is nervous because he is going to play basketball with the girls and he would show them such cool moves and impress them. Just then, Epha runs into Awei and his gang in the hallway, who say menacingly that they have been waiting for him for so long and finally found him alone. They quickly grab Epha and take him to a secluded corner of the school where no one can see them, and they start beating him up viciously without mercy. Wei tells Epha threateningly to stay away from Femi from now on and warns him that if he catches him playing basketball here in this gym anymore, then he won't be having a good time at this school for a very long while. After they finally leave him alone, Epha sits there in pain, wondering desperately what he has done wrong in his entire life to deserve all this trauma, as he just wanted to play basketball peacefully and enjoy the sport he loves. He then gathers all his courage and strength, gets back up on his feet, and yells at the bullies angrily that they are just some brainless idiots who only know how to use their fists and violence to solve problems. He then boldly challenges the bullies to play a proper game of basketball instead, pointing out that they are also supposed to be from the basketball team, so they should settle this on the court like real players. On the other hand, the perverted boy who was with Epha earlier carefully builds a chair outside the building, so that he can peek through the girls' changing room window more comfortably and get a better view. He then keeps staring eagerly at the girls through the window with focus, but then suddenly, a girl enters the changing room and informs the others excitedly that they just heard a freshman is challenging basketball club members at the court right now. Hearing this interesting news, all of the girls quickly put on their clothes and leave the changing room in a hurry to go watch the match. At the basketball court, Epha is standing confidently in front of the bullies as all the students and people surround them in a circle, whispering amongst themselves that there is absolutely no way a mere freshman is going to defeat the experienced seniors in this match. One of the bullies tells Wei quietly that they should just beat Epha up once more, and he won't dare to bother them anymore after that. He also questions Wei, asking why he even agreed to compete with this annoying guy in a basketball match in the first place instead of just ignoring him. Epha realizes that there is too big of a height difference between him and Wei, but since it's a one-on-one, he starts asking everyone if they want to play basketball with him, but none of them seems to be interested. In the end, Epha finds the same delinquent guy from before wandering around, who tells Epha arrogantly that he only plays these kinds of games with girls and has no interest in playing with guys. However, one of the girls nearby immediately slaps the boy hard for talking such nonsense and being disrespectful. Epha finally chooses and asks the boy to play basketball with him as teammates, and the bully Awei realizes with surprise that this is the same guy from yesterday who helped him before. Epha then tells the boy eagerly to use basketball as a way to get his revenge for what happened yesterday, but the boy just turns around casually and tries to leave the gym without interest. However, Epha quickly stops him and asks if he doesn't want that girl's phone number from yesterday that he was hoping to get. He tells him with determination that if he teams up with him and they defeat the bullies together in a 2v2 match, then he will personally give him that number as a reward. Hearing that tempting offer, the boy's eyes light up with excitement, and he quickly takes off his shirt and says that he is ready to compete with anyone now, no matter who they are. Wei tells Epha firmly that the rules are first to 5 points, turnovers, and checks will start from the 3-point line, and if they lose this match then they shouldn't even dare to think about playing basketball at Xian Qiao High School ever again. The match then begins with Epha immediately passing the ball to his mysterious teammate, but everyone watching gets surprised and starts thinking that the guy with the ball looks strangely familiar to them, like they've seen him somewhere before. Wei then tells the boy arrogantly that he shouldn't regret agreeing to play in this match later, but the boy quickly runs past Wei with explosive speed and throws the ball into the basket with an incredible and powerful dunk that completely surprises everyone watching. The crowd wonders in disbelief if this boy is actually a high schooler or some kind of professional player, because his skills seem far beyond a normal student's level. Epha watches in complete amazement, thinking that this guy is so incredibly strong and skilled that he can perform all kinds of flashy tricks and advanced techniques, and still manages to put the ball back in the basket with such ease and confidence, making it look effortless. The match then continues with the boy having the ball in his possession again, and he confidently goes for another aggressive drive toward the basket. But this time, he just runs past Wei so easily and effortlessly, as if he is performing some ultra instinct moves that are impossible to defend against. After that, the boy gets closer to the basket and tries to throw the ball in for a score, as Wei's teammate desperately tries to block him and stop the shot. However, despite the defensive effort, he fails completely to stop it. The ball goes cleanly inside the basket, and everyone watching is completely stunned at that incredible play. But the boy immediately turns to Epha and tells him seriously not to forget their deal about giving him that girl's phone number as promised. On the other hand, Fei is starting to get curious about why Epha is taking such a long time, so she decides to inform the girl sitting near her that she needs to step outside for just a little while. The boy manages to break through Wei's defense with the basketball once more, but this time another player quickly moves into position to block his path, which makes Epha immediately call out to him to pass the basketball over to him since there is a clear opening available on the court. After witnessing that particular moment, a boy who is sitting in the audience section finally manages to recognize Epha's teammate as somebody who used to be their middle school basketball team's permanent substitute player, and his actual name happens to be Ding Han. Everyone else sitting around starts wondering out loud about how it could possibly be true that he was the substitute, because he is clearly such a talented player, and there is absolutely no way he could have been just a substitute on any team. The guy then reveals the truth that Ding is actually known as a lone wolf type of player who never passes the ball to anyone on his team. Ding then quickly manages to run past both Wei and another player with impressive speed and tries to jump up high and throw the ball inside the basket, but Wei suddenly smashes the ball right out of his hand with force. Now, the counterattack from Wei's team is beginning to unfold with Wei's teammate successfully getting possession of the ball, and he runs straight down the court and passes the ball back over to Wei without hesitation. He then jumps up into the air and throws the ball inside the basket with precision that completely shocks everyone who is watching the game. Epha then turns to ask Ding if he is really the actual Ding Han and tells him not to forget the important fact that their opponents are actual members of the official basketball team. Just then at that moment, Fei and her friends arrive at the basketball court and meet up with her friend Xiaomei, who tells her that there is a match going on right now. She explains that this is exciting to watch because Wei's team is currently leading by 3 points. However, Fei is quite surprised that Epha's group managed to compete and keep up with players of the official basketball team at this level. Wei then scores another goal by throwing the ball in the basket with skill, which makes the girls think and comment that in an instant and short amount of time, they have already gotten 4 points ahead now. Fei says with concern that the school administration actually scouted the opponent for the basketball team and they are only normal high school students without special training. At that exact moment, Daan shows up at the court and says that up until this point in the game, Epha hasn't participated much or gotten involved. Fei asks him curiously if he knows him personally and thinks to herself that this guy is really tall and impressive in height. On the other hand, Epha thinks worriedly to himself that the score is 4-2 right now and 1 more point and they are going to lose this match completely, but then suddenly, Wei's teammate throws a direct shot that hits the basket rim and rebounds off of it. However, Wei quickly grabs the basketball with his hands, but Epha suddenly smashes the ball right out of his hand with a powerful move that completely surprises him. Epha then switches to the offensive play style. He can clearly see that Ding is asking him to hand the ball over to him, but Epha completely ignores him and takes a direct shot at the basket instead. The ball then goes straight inside the basket perfectly and Epha's team manages to catch up by 1 point on the scoreboard. Epha then gives the ball to Ding and tells him directly that it's his turn to start playing now and show what he can do. The match then continues with intensity as Epha runs down the court with the ball and he is trying to do a fast break play to score quickly, but Wei's teammate wonders if Epha's dribbling skills are average at best and he isn't particularly fast either in his movement, but why does defending against him feel so strange and difficult to handle? After that moment, Epha manages to get away from there successfully and takes a direct shot at the basket that goes inside the basket smoothly and scores another point. After that, the crowd starts talking about how Epha's shots are accurate, as in the end, he manages to get 2 shots in and now both teams have same score. Wei and his teammate think that it's surprising to see that Epha was actually a left-hander, and that's the reason marking him was so awkward. The match then continues with Epha goes for a 3-pointer shot from far away, but just as he is about to throw the ball up, Wei's teammate suddenly smashes the ball right out of his hand forcefully and Epha falls down hard on the ground. He quickly says with frustration that Wei's teammate broke the rules and committed a foul, but the guy doesn't accept his mistake or admit to what he did and asks Wei directly if he really broke the rule during that play. Surprisingly, Wei grabs the guy's collar tightly with his hands and asks him sternly what he is doing and why he played dirty. He tells him firmly to give the ball back to them immediately and defend properly without cheating or breaking the rules. The match then begins again with Ding getting possession of the ball, and everyone watching thinks and assumes that this lone wolf player is going to play alone as usual without passing on to anyone. Ding then asks the crowd loudly to say that again what they just said, but Wei tries to steal the ball away from him, which Ding dodges skillfully and quickly. Ding then runs past Wei with speed, but he doesn't stop there at all and follows Ding closely down the court. Wei tries his absolute best to entirely block Ding from shooting from any side or angle possible, but Ding jumps up high into the air and makes a direct shot towards the basket. However, Wei jumps even higher than Ding because of his tall height and longer reach, so Ding quickly passes the ball to Epha while still in midair during the jump. Seeing that, everyone in the audience gets shocked and can't believe that Ding actually passed the ball to someone else for the first time ever in his playing history. Epha then makes the direct shot that goes straight towards the basket with force, but Wei's teammate thinks and assumes that Epha overshot it badly, which means that the ball can't possibly go in the basket at all, but at that exact moment, Ding appears out of nowhere and throws it inside the basket successfully to score the point. With that final play, Epha's team won the match, which is actually surprising and shocking for everyone watching, as nobody thought or expected that first year students were going to win against the basketball team. Fei tells her friends who are preparing to leave that she is going to stay here at the court for a bit longer as she has to catch up with Epha and talk to him. Wei then grabs his jacket off the ground and decides to leave the court, but Epha tries to discuss and talk about what they talked about before the match started, but Wei tells him coldly that he won't disturb them anymore as they can play as much as they want without him. However, Epha tells him directly and honestly that he wants to play basketball with him seriously and keep playing together, and everyone around them gets shocked and surprised to hear that bold statement from him. Epha says that it's fun to be able to play basketball like this with other people who understand the game, and ever since his big brother left, he has always been playing basketball alone by himself. Furthermore, he adds that sometimes he would meet a few people to play with occasionally, but those delinquents would always appear and ruin everything for him and chase them away. Wei says with a cold tone that he lost interest in playing basketball a long time ago, but Epha says back to him that he already agreed to play a match with him earlier and even got mad at his teammate for cheating during the game, but this statement makes Wei's teammate furious and angry as he suddenly grabs Epha's collar tightly with both hands. The school director calls everyone over to his office and Epha tries to explain nervously that this is actually a misunderstanding and not what it looks like at all. The director then happily tells everyone in a fake cheerful tone that they shouldn't let this small incident affect their impression of Xianqiao School negatively, as they are the key school of the province, a branded and prestigious school which has 97% and above graduation rate every single year. The director then gets furious and angry at Ding specifically and asks him loudly who allowed him to get the perms done to his hair in school against the rules, but Ding tells him calmly that he has naturally curly hair from birth. The director then asks him accusingly who allowed him to dye his hair that color then, so Ding tells him again that this is naturally brown colored hair and not dyed at all, but then suddenly, the director tries to ask him about a hole in his ear that looks like piercings for earrings. Daan then asks the director politely if they can go and leave now because it looks like there is nothing else they can do now in this situation. However, the director tells them to go because they won't be able to stay in Xiaoqiao for long anyway, and hearing that, they all ask what he means. The director then starts laughing loudly, saying that he already handed over the official request to disband the basketball team to the new principal, which means they will all soon end up like those previous basketball players from before, getting kicked out of the school. Hearing that threatening statement, Wei gets furious and angry and tries to hit the director physically, but he tells him sternly to behave properly or else he will expel him from the school immediately without any hesitation. Just then, the new principal enters the room through the door and says that he heard that the basketball team members were here in this office, so he came to take a look at them personally and see what was happening. The director then asks the principal directly what he thinks about the application he sent earlier on disbanding the basketball club completely and shutting it down. However, the principal walks towards Ding slowly and starts pulling his cheek, but Ding calls him Uncle Wang, which surprises everyone. The principal starts looking around at Ding's height and says that he has grown so tall since he last saw him. He then asks him about his grandfather and how he's doing, so Ding says that he stopped coaching the boys' team recently and now he's coaching girls' teams instead, which makes him jealous and upset. The principal then turns to Epha and says that he watched his competition earlier and he thinks that the second year's performance was really great overall, but the most amazing thing was the collaboration at the end with Ding working together. The principal then says optimistically that it looks like the Xian Xiao basketball team has hopes for revival and a comeback, which shocks everyone including the director who is listening. He tries to remind the principal nervously about what happened last year with the team, but he says calmly that he already heard about that incident, so this year, Xian Xiao won't be specially admitting basketball players with lower standards, but he could only find Ding through connections, and the others have to depend on themselves to get in. Hearing that revelation, Ding realizes suddenly why his grandfather tricked him into enrolling into this school in the first place. The principal then tells the director that he wants to rebuild Xian Xiao's basketball team and give it another chance. Sometime later, the boys leave the office to find Fei standing outside waiting, and she wonders what took them so long in there. The director tells the principal that the basketball team is like a disease to Xian Xiao and this disease must be resolved, but the principal replies that they themselves might be the disease. On the other hand, Epha tells Fei that the principal said that he wants to rebuild the basketball team and that Ding has been specially invited by the principal to come to Xian Xiao. However, Ding can't believe the fact that Fei was looking at him just now during the game, which could be a sign that she has fallen for him and developed feelings. Ding then asks Epha to complete his promise about what they discussed earlier before the match started, but Epha says honestly that he wanted to shoot the last ball himself. He explains that when he shot the ball into the air, Wei's finger managed to touch the ball slightly and change the course of the ball's direction, and in the end, it became an alley-oop pass instead of a shot. He further explains that when those two players were defending against him closely, he had little confidence of scoring that ball successfully by himself, but it looks like that's not the case anymore after what happened. Epha then turns to ask Fei curiously what happened to the basketball team before and why things are the way they are now. 1 year ago, the school specially created a basketball team filled with talented players and also hired an elite coach to prepare to win that year's high school basketball tournament. At that time, Fei was the coach's assistant, and in this specially made team, the most notable beings were Yenping Middle School's Yong Dong and Daan Middle School's Wei. During the match, the coach says that Yong Dong has outstanding technical skills and is good at fast break to score points, but Wei on the other hand, has control of the two-point area and has explosive power. So, he thinks that with these two talented players winning the high school basketball tournament will be an easy feat to accomplish, and this inter-team practice match is to see how well they can work with each other on the court. Unexpectedly, Yong Dong and Wei don't get along with each other that well at all, and Yong Dong tries to play the game on his own without passing it to anyone on the team. Wei confronts Yong Dong about it directly, but he replies arrogantly that he still scored the goal successfully, and that Wei has to block them properly instead of complaining about his style. The match then continues with Wei having the ball in possession, but he gets blocked by two guys surrounding him, but instead of passing the ball to an open teammate, he scores the point on his own with force. Seeing that impressive play, everyone gets surprised and calls Wei an amazing player with great skill, which makes Yong Dong jealous and envious. Just like that, over time, these two didn't get along at all and went to score solo shots constantly, and even the coach didn't know how to manage them or fix the chemistry issues. Later that night, Fei finds Wei training all alone on the court, so she decides to have a conversation with him about things. She asks why he and Yong Dong are always arguing with each other, so Wei says that he always started it first, but Fei asks what will happen during matches and can't he just listen to the coach and cooperate for once to help the team. However, Wei tells her not to worry about anything at all because he is not going to lose to anyone, but Fei asks what he means by that statement, so he tells her that he is just a guy who wants to take Xian Xiao to the Country Cup tournament. Back in the present time, Epha realized that Wei was also a lone wolf player in the beginning just like Ding, but Ding asks what he means by also and why he said that. Epha tries to just change the topic quickly. Fei then continues the story that the regionals were coming up fast that year, and even though Wei and Yong Dong didn't get along at all, Xian Xiao was still able to use their abilities and win the first two games of the tournament. Moreover, the final opponent was the school that had got second place in the country competition, Chengxi High School, and that important match was held in Xian Xiao's home court with home advantage. After that, the match begins with Xianxiao High School already ahead by 14 points in the score, and the coach tells the team that everyone should pass the ball around if they want to win this game. The match continues as Wei tries to block another shot from the opposing team with his defensive skills. The ball then gets to Wei, who shoots the ball right away without hesitation, but it doesn't go inside the basket at all, which surprises everyone watching as the ball didn't even touch the rim of the basket. The other players on the opposing team start laughing loudly at Wei for throwing the ball from such a long distance away from the basket, and Wei's rival tells him mockingly to just be a good boy and retreat back to his base and give up. Afterward, the coach tells the team members that the match isn't over yet and there's still time, so they shouldn't worry about anything or lose hope, but Wei's rival adds arrogantly that he should definitely worry as there's only a quarter or so left of the game, and as long as he is here on the court, they won't be able to catch up to their score at all. However, the coach sternly tells the team they shouldn't believe that just because they are winning right now, they can play whatever they want without following strategy. After the timeout period ends, Chengxi High School team were able to catch up by 2 points immediately and quickly, and the ball gets to Wei, who is struggling against another player trying to steal the ball away from him aggressively. Wei tries to shoot the ball towards the basket with determination, but the opponent team's player hits his wrist hard during the shot, which gets the opponent player a foul call from the referee for the illegal contact. However, Wei realizes that this was all on purpose and intentional to hurt him and stop their momentum. Wei's team gets a free throw opportunity and Wei steps up to the line to take the shot, and he tries to throw the ball at the basket with focus, but the shot gets missed completely and doesn't go in at all. This time around, the referee gives a foul call to number 4 player on the opposing team for another violation, but others watching closely think and realize that this is the hack-a-shack tactic being used strategically and deliberately by the other team. And someone in the crowd explains that this is a specific tactic where they repeatedly foul the opposing team's player with the lowest free throw percentage on purpose intentionally every possession, and the player must take his free throws every single time without exception. Additionally, to make it worse, if he misses the free throw shots like Wei is doing, the team doesn't gain any points at all from the fouls, but the opposing team gets a rebounding opportunity instead and enough time to transition smoothly into offense and score easily on the other end. Another guy then asks the other person curiously if one player commits 5 fouls he can't play anymore in the game, right? So the guy replies and confirms that there are 5 players on the court at any time, not to mention the bench players as well who can rotate in. In the end and ultimately, the opposing team kept using the hack-a-shack tactic repeatedly against Wei throughout the game, and he only made 1 successful shot out of 8 free throws total, but the point difference was slowly decreasing between the two teams. However, the coach noticed the problem developing and made the decision to bench Wei in the 4th quarter to protect him. After that substitution, Yong Dong gets the ball in his possession, but he gets blocked aggressively by 2 players of the opposing team at the same time, but he still managed to throw the ball up those rebounds off the rim. It turns out that Yong Dong was being double-teamed by 2 defenders, and with Wei sitting on the bench, the Chengxi team was able to take advantage of their weaknesses. They kept scoring point after point, using a smart strategy to stay ahead. But with only 4 minutes left in the game, Chengxi managed to overtake them and take the lead. The coach had no choice but to put Wei back on the court, hoping he could help turn things around. However, Chengxi stuck to their strategy, and Wei still couldn't make any shots. During the game, Wei gets into an argument with Yong Dong, who tells him not to embarrass the team since Wei couldn't make a shot to save his life. In the end, both Wei and Yong Dong are benched. Finally, the game ends with Xianxiao losing to Chengxi by a score of 72-69. The coach asks the players about their 3rd and 4th match results and what they think happened, so Yong Dong says with disappointment that only the 1st place team can enter the regional competition and advance. He further says and explains that their weakness is undoubtedly exposed to everyone now, and everyone should work harder for next year, then they could do something better and win. But then suddenly, he points directly at Wei and says bluntly that he is their weakness and the reason they lost. He explains with frustration that if not for his foul shooting giving the opponent's team a chance to catch up, there's no way they could have lost this match at all. However, another guy tells him firmly not to say something like that because when the team was overwhelmed and losing ground, Wei was not even on the court playing, but Yong Dong says back angrily that a person who didn't do any work and didn't even stay on the court for even half a minute of playing time has no ground to say that or defend Wei. Wei then gets up and leaves the area, but then Fei Mi approaches Yong Dong, saying he cannot blame Wei for everything as everyone has a responsibility when they lose, but Yong Dong asks her directly about her relationship with him. At that moment, Wei hits Yong Dong with a water bottle. Sometime later, the coach tells everyone to go to the changing rooms and cool their heads down and calm themselves, and then immediately, the coach apologizes sincerely to the other team's coach for letting him see a fight between his team members. Suddenly, a player rushes in and informs the coach urgently that there is a fight going on in the changing room right now between Wei and Yong Dong and it's getting violent. Back in the present time, Fei tells Epha the full story that after that terrible brawl incident, Wei and Yong Dong have been separated into different divisions permanently and the coach felt no more passion or connection towards the team and willingly resigned from his position. Soon after that happened, Yong Dong transferred to the Shuangshi High School inside the district, and other outstanding players also transferred to other schools one after the other, and more outstanding players also transferred to the other schools one after the other until the team fell apart. However, the basketball team was ultimately left with two people, Wei and Zhuo Jiming. Epha asks why they still want to remain in Xingqiao, so Fei says that the bald guy doesn't seem to have any schools recruiting him, and as for Wei, she has no idea. Epha thinks that in his heart, Wei still wants to play basketball in Xingqiao. After that, Ding asks Epha to give him the number that he promised, but Epha asks him why he is taking her number when she is right beside them. Later that night, Ding texts Fei, but instead of replying she straight away blocks him. The next day, Wei and his friend Baldy are hanging out in the park where Baldy asks him what he is going to do later today, and if he doesn't have anything to do, they should just go to the internet cafe and play games together. Wei doesn't reply to him and keeps staring at a bunch of kids playing basketball nearby on the court, so Baldy asks him if he wants to practice playing basketball with them. Baldy then tells him that he fought with his father again yesterday and he said he doesn't bother to learn wushu martial arts, and he's just lazing around every day doing nothing productive. Hearing that complaint, Wei decides to leave because he thinks that Baldy is just trying to lecture him about his life choices. Later at home, Wei is resting on his bed when his mom barges in his room suddenly, yelling that he is still sleeping so early in the morning that he should go and pack his messy stuff around the house. She then calls him someone who is exactly like his father, always throwing things around everywhere when she tells him thousands of times to be careful and organized. Wei then opens a box where he finds his old basketball shoes and other basketball-related stuff from his past. On the other hand, Epha secretly gets to the basketball court and starts practicing basketball alone by himself. Just then suddenly, his ball rolls over to three delinquents who are trying to mess with him and cause trouble. Epha quickly recognizes them from his past experiences and asks them cautiously what they want from him, so the delinquents tell him not to waste his energy arguing and they should use basketball to determine if he has the skill or not to play. Just then at that moment, one of the delinquents hit Epha hard with the basketball intentionally, and just as he is about to fall down to the ground, his leg accidentally hits the delinquent's causing him to break the eggs and hurt badly. After that painful incident, the delinquent gets furious and extremely angry. All of them grab Epha from all sides aggressively as they are going to use their killer move to beat him up badly. They all try to break Epha's eggs as well to hurt him further, but then suddenly, Wei arrives at the scene and saves Epha at the very last moment before anything bad happens. Epha then asks Wei with surprise if he came here to play basketball as well with him. Wei just stares at him, which scares Epha and makes him nervous. After that, they both continue to play basketball together on the court, and Wei shoots the ball which doesn't go inside the basket at all, so Epha realizes clearly that Wei's shooting skills actually suck and are really bad. Wei then asks Epha seriously if basketball is really important to him in his life, but Epha thinks for a while quietly before saying honestly that he doesn't know yet and hasn't figured it out. Wei then asks him with a cynical tone if for people like him, isn't basketball just an interest and hobby to burn time and pass the hours, as people always say that they like basketball so much and are passionate about it, but then shortly after they end up forgetting it completely and together with other people from Xianqiao school they focus on working for their academics and studying instead, and by the time he will realize what happened, basketball won't be as important as he thought it was in the beginning. However, Epha says that if he thought about being too short, too skinny, poor jumping and bad dribbling seriously then there would be 1,000 reasons for him not to play basketball, but he can't hold back the feeling of playing it. At that moment, the delinquents from before bring another guy who turns out to be Yong Dong. Wei recognizes Yong Dong immediately, which surprises Epha and the other delinquents as well, as they all realize suddenly that they both knew each other from before. Yong Dong tells them casually that they are just some old teammates from the past, but then suddenly, he kicks the basketball hard across the ground, saying he didn't expect him to still be playing basketball after everything. Epha gets mad and frustrated and asks him angrily why he is kicking his ball like that for no reason, but Yong Dong ignores him completely and asks Wei directly if he is going to enter high competition this year with Epha on the team. He then starts laughing like a maniac crazily and calls Wei a black sheep insultingly, saying that the teams that take him on won't go that far in competition at all. Epha wonders to himself that Yong Dong no longer plays basketball anymore apparently, and also, he seems to think wrongly that Wei is still playing on the team. After that tense moment, Wei says that he didn't expect the once self-claimed Xian Xiao ace player to have fallen to this pathetic state now, but Yong Dong gets confused by the statement. Wei says that it's Shuangshi High School, the school that Yong Dong transferred to, and he heard that it is an anchor school that thinks highly of seniority. However, Yong Dong says that it's just a trash team formed by a bunch of trash, but Epha says that it was a champion team that consecutively represented their city for the regionals. Wei then asks him directly if he really didn't make the cut and got kicked out of the team, but Yong Dong gets furious and angry and says defensively that he is so great and talented that he doesn't need any kind of basketball team anymore. Hearing that, Wei starts laughing out loud at him, so Yong Dong straight away punches him hard in the face and asks Wei angrily why he doesn't even dare to fight back and defend himself. Yong Dong then starts walking away from the scene, but Wei says calmly that it's boring to fight here and there physically because if he has the ability and skill, they should settle it with basketball on the court instead. Furthermore, Wei tells him confidently that this year's Xian Xiao basketball team will definitely defeat Shuangshi School and enter the regional competition without a doubt. However, Yong Dong says dismissively and mockingly that it's just a game with a bunch of monkeys jumping around to snatch a ball and nothing more than that. After they leave, Epha asks Wei if he is serious about regionals because he just wanted to play basketball casually. Wei says that if they are going to play basketball then they should aim for the nationals. Hearing that, Epha recalls his childhood where his brother used to tell him about the nationals as they will be able to go against teams from the entire country and how his brother is going to go into the nationals. However, Epha makes fun of him playfully, saying that when he gets there to the court he will definitely be owned and beaten badly, but he just smacks him hard with the basketball to shut him up. Back in the present time, Wei and the Baldy took Epha to the basketball team's changing room, which is quite messy and disorganized as of now and hasn't been cleaned. Baldy asks Wei seriously if he is actually serious about playing basketball with Epha and letting him join, but Wei says practically that they don't have enough players on the team, so it helps to have another player even if it's just one more. Epha then gets an idea suddenly that there is another player that is quite good at basketball and has skills, and that is Ding, so Wei asks him curiously if he knows which class he is in at school. However, Epha has no idea where he is or what class he attends, but he takes them outside the girls' changing room area where Epha finds Ding standing around suspiciously. Epha tells Ding enthusiastically that he should join the basketball team and altogether with him joining there will be 4 people on the roster. Ding shows no interest whatsoever in the idea and seems completely uninterested. Epha gets angry and asks him directly if the principal got him into Xian Xiao school specifically to join the basketball team and play. Ding responds coldly that basketball is just a waste of time and energy, so he doesn't want to get involved in that kind of thing at all. Seeing that negative reaction, Epha tells him hopefully and tries to convince him that there might be a chance that Fei Mi will be coming back to be the assistant of the basketball team again soon to help out. Hearing that statement about Fei Mi, Ding shows a weird and uncomfortable facial expression. He says firmly and seriously that he should never mention her name in front of him again or talk about her anymore because he doesn't want to hear it. Later that day, the principal introduces a girl to the team who is their school's sports teacher named Diana and will be helping them. Epha is quite shocked and surprised to see the principal's new look and appearance, but he says casually that there are people who say that he looks like a coach with his outfit. He then tells everyone gathered that he hasn't gotten acquainted with the coach yet properly, so for the time being until then, Anna will train them and lead their practices. After that introduction, the principal asks them about the recruitment progress and how many members they have, so Epha says honestly that they have only 3 people so far on the team, but then suddenly, Ding starts going crazy and excited all over Anna and says that he really wants to join the team as well and be a part of it. The next day, Epha excitedly runs out of the school building because he is excited that he can practice basketball in broad daylight now, as in the past, because of certain reasons he had to play basketball in secret. Although much has happened recently, Wei and Baldy have started playing basketball again. Fei Mi also promised them that before any new assistant joins the team officially, they must help them out first with their duties. Besides, Ding also joined the basketball team as a member. He arrives to practice late and misses the start time, so the new coach Anna tells him to go and run 20 laps around the field as punishment for being late. After that realization, the team started practicing even harder than they could manage. Even though they wanted to train with the girls' basketball team in the gym together, they decided to move to the field outside the classroom building instead of giving them space. It turns out clearly that training is tough and physically demanding, but being able to practice basketball with everyone together makes Epha happy and fulfilled inside. After the training session ends for the day, Coach Anna tells everyone gathered that after half a month from now, this year's area competition's registration period is about to end and close, and this competition has a few regulations and rules, and one of them is that the participants must have a minimum of 10 players on their roster. So, the coach tells everyone with urgency that they still have to recruit 6 more players within 2 weeks' time, or they won't be able to participate. The next day at school, the basketball team holds a recruitment stall in the school courtyard with a notice board that clearly states they are recruiting 6 players to join the team. Days go by slowly and not even a single person joins their club or shows interest, which makes Ding furious with the situation. The Baldy and Ding both think that there is no way they are going to find someone at this school who wants to play, but Epha thinks differently, that it must be because both of them look scary and intimidating to potential recruits. Just then, Coach Anna arrives at the stall and says that it must be impossible for them to recruit anyone like this with their current approach, so she is going to help them out personally. She then sends the team away from the stall and sits down with Fei Mi at the recruitment table, and after just 10 minutes pass, the place gets completely crowded with interested students gathering around. Seeing that, Epha starts laughing happily and says that Xianqiao High School still has many people interested in basketball after all. Later that afternoon, 4 players arrive at the club room and introduce themselves politely as Lin, Lu, Junjie, and Zhang to the existing team members waiting there. Ding asks them suspiciously what their true intentions are for joining the team and scares them with his direct questioning. At that exact moment, the coach arrives suddenly and smacks him away for being rude to the new recruits. She says that all of them are from Year 1 students, and after adding those 4 new members, they only have 8 players total on the roster, as they are still missing 2 players now to meet the minimum requirement. She then tells everyone gathered to split into 2 groups immediately, as they are going to play 4 versus 4 round-robin matches to assess their skills. During the match, the 4 new players showed terrible performance and lack of basic skills that made the coach angry, as she wondered if she put so much effort into recruiting, yet she only managed to recruit 4 chickens with no talent. At that exact moment, Daan shows up at the gym entrance and Epha asks him curiously why he came here to the basketball practice, so he tells him casually that over the past few days he heard that the basketball team members have increased in number, so he just came to look around and see what was happening. Coach Anna asks Fei Mi quietly about Daan and who he is, so she says and explains that he's Epha's friend who should be from Year 1 as well and is a new student. Hearing that information, Coach Anna's eyes start shining brightly with excitement, and she realizes immediately that his height and body proportions are perfectly fit for being a basketball player and would be perfect for the team. She then asks him directly and enthusiastically if he likes basketball and wants to join the team, but Daan tells her politely that he only came to see because it was on the way to somewhere else he needed to go, but Coach Anna starts seducing him with charm and compliments and persuasive words, but it doesn't work on Daan at all or change his mind. He then turns around calmly and says firmly that he is going to leave now and head out without joining, but then suddenly at that moment, the principal arrives through the door with a strange old geezer walking beside him into the gym. The principal is quite impressive that they have managed to recruit more players for the team so far with their efforts, but they still don't have the required 10 players on the roster yet to compete in the tournament officially. The old geezer that the principal brought along with him starts staring inappropriately at Coach Anna's chest area, so she beats him up physically for being disrespectful and creepy. It turns out surprisingly, the old man is actually Ding's grandfather, who is just as freaky and perverted as him in his behavior. After that awkward incident, Ding's grandfather says seriously that they are going to play a practice match with the all-girls basketball team he brought along with him today. However, Coach Anna wonders worriedly to herself if their current team can really play the match competitively, so she asks Epha directly where the tall guy is from just now who was here earlier. After the practice session ends for the day, everyone leaves the gym and heads home except for Epha and Wei, who remain behind. Epha tells him honestly that he is going to stay behind at the gym because he wants to practice shooting skills first before going back home for the night. Afterward, the match between the boys' team and the girls' team begins with intensity as Wei gets the ball in the first jump ball situation. The ball gets passed to Epha quickly, but he then gets blocked by a short-haired girl who distracts him completely with her beauty and charm and easily steals the ball from him without much resistance. Seeing that embarrassing moment, Fei Mi and Coach Anna both wonder out loud what's wrong with Epha and why he's playing so poorly. The girl who stole the ball runs straight towards the basket with speed and confidence, but Ding catches up to her position, thinking to himself that it's his chance to check out his man-on-man defense skills, and that way he would get the chance to be close and freaky with her during the play. However, the girl quickly changes her position with a clever move and passes the ball back to her teammate who is open, who quickly scores a goal easily without any trouble. With that successful play, Changde women's team scored 2-point score on the scoreboard while the boys' team were still at 0 points and haven't scored yet. Epha starts to feel nervous, but Wei reassures him, telling him not to worry because the game is just getting started, and there will be plenty of chances for them to score more points. The game continues, and Wei gets possession of the ball. But then, a strange-looking girl winks at him in a flirtatious way, which makes Wei feel uneasy and scared. Without thinking, he quickly passes the ball back to Epha. Now that Epha has the ball, the same short-haired girl from earlier rushes toward him to defend, but Coach Anna sees that it's actually a chance for them to score. Epha, however, is still unsure about what to do, as he's caught up in confusion about whether or not he should shoot. Finally, Epha passes the ball to the bald player, shouting loudly for him to take the shot. But the bald player gets really angry at Epha for passing him the ball instead of taking the shot himself when he had the perfect opportunity. Just then suddenly, Baldy gets blocked by a defender, so he passes the ball to the newcomer guy who gets scared and nervous, but Coach Anna asks them what they are doing as their 24-second shot clock is almost up and running out. The guy then randomly throws the ball up in panic that hits the basket rim and rebounds off of it, but the creepy-looking girl from before easily catches the ball with no problem at all. Afterward, the girl passes the ball to her teammate who is standing close to the basket in good position, and she easily throws it in and scores the point for the girls' team. Seeing that, Femi gets frustrated because they got scored on again repeatedly, but then at that moment, Ding's grandfather tells Coach Anna that her players seem to be a bit too green and inexperienced for this level. The match then continues with the women's team scoring goals one after another consecutively, and they show incredible performance that makes the boys quite nervous and uncomfortable. Femi says worriedly that not only are the boys behind in the points significantly, but they are also being dragged into their rhythm and pace of play, so if things go on like this then they are certain to lose this practice match badly. Suddenly, Ding asks the team what they are actually trying to do out there and tells them that if they can't handle it themselves, then they should pass the ball to him and let him take over. After that, the match continues with Ding getting the ball and he runs straight towards the other side while dribbling. Ding then finds the perfect moment and shoots the ball that goes straight inside the basket and surprises everyone. Epha feels relieved that they are finally tied and thinks that Ding is actually good at three-pointer shots at times like this. The match then resumes with the short-haired girl getting the ball and she reminds her team that they are going to score another basket, but then, Ding appears and tries to do man-on-man defense with her. Feeling weird, the girl passes the ball to her teammate, but Ding intercepts the ball that caught the girl off guard as she wonders how he jumps that high. Ding then runs straight towards the basket, but the short-haired girl appears in front of him again to block his path, so Ding looks directly at Epha, which makes the girl think that he is going to pass the ball to him, so she goes over to defend Epha instead. At that exact moment and perfect timing, Ding quickly runs past her with an explosive move and throws the ball in the basket successfully that gets the boys' team another point on the board. Seeing that incredible play, everyone in the gym gets shocked and amazed because they have never seen such a good slam dunk in their entire life before. Coach Anna also wonders to herself that no one would have thought that this guy would be so reliable when it mattered most and that the defense right now was so atrocious and terrible from the girls. The match continues with Ding scoring another point for the team with ease and the girls are shocked, wondering out loud how he could possibly score 6 points consecutively on them without being stopped. On the other hand, Ding's grandfather tells another female player named Min to get ready and prepare to get on the court and play now. After that, the girls' team makes a substitution and brings in a new female player whose very large chest immediately makes Ding lose focus and act crazy. Because of this distraction, Ding ends up getting a nosebleed. The referee quickly calls a timeout and tells Ding to step off the court so he can stop the bleeding. The referee then clearly explains that the rules state a player is not allowed to keep playing while bleeding, so Ding must leave the court as soon as possible. At the same time, Ding's grandfather also starts having a nosebleed, and he speaks to Ding by saying that if Ding wants to challenge and fight against him, then he still has a long way to go before he is ready. After this, the boys' team makes a substitution that removes Ding from the game, and Epha begins to think that the team is completely doomed because Ding was the only player who could score points, and now he is unable to play at all. The game then keeps going, and the girls start scoring point after point, and as the boys continue to lose by a large amount, Ding's grandfather decides to leave and go to the restroom because he feels there is no reason to keep watching the match anymore. Soon after that, the first half comes to an end with the girls' team leading strongly with 21 points, while the boys' team only has 8 points in total. Seeing how sad and discouraged the boys look, Coach Anna begins to wonder how she should comfort them and lift their spirits, But Fei believes that in moments like this, there are no words that can really change how they are feeling. Just then, Ding's grandfather suddenly comes back holding a bucket filled with water and pours it directly onto the boys' faces, shocking them. Ding then becomes really angry at his grandfather, and he starts questioning him by asking if he is actually feeling happy while watching all the girls playing on the court. He also asks the boys what they have turned the game into, saying that instead of playing basketball seriously, they are just moving around and dancing with girls. He goes on to say that if they are already standing on the court, they should try their hardest and give the game their full effort, but if they do not want to play for real, then they should leave the court and bring in some real men who can play against them properly. After he finishes saying this, Coach Anna angrily asks Ding's grandfather if he is finally done talking, which makes him feel scared and he quickly runs away. After that situation ends, the second half of the game begins and Wei tells everyone that they should go ahead and take any shots they want without holding back. Soon, the ball goes to one of the girls, and she pushes Wei hard, using her strength to box him out completely. She then jumps straight up into the air to try to make a shot, but just as she is about to release the ball, Wei forcefully hits the ball out of her hand and stops her shot. After that play, Ding gets the ball in his possession, but he gets double-teamed by the girls surrounding him, so Coach Anna tells him loudly to pass the ball to an open teammate. Ding then starts dribbling the ball around skillfully and breaks through the girls with his moves and tries to throw the ball in the basket for a score, but the short-haired girl quickly catches up to him with her speed, so Ding gets distracted by her attractiveness and misses the shot completely. The ball then gets to the big girl of the girls' team who is furious and angry because she got called an OX earlier and tries to get the rebound aggressively, but Wei smacks the ball right out of her hands powerfully. The ball then gets to Epha who hesitates to shoot and isn't confident, but Wei tells him firmly to shoot the ball instead of wasting his time like that and overthinking. Epha thinks to himself that at a time like this just aiming for the basket is the best solution, so he throws the ball randomly without much thought that hits the pole on the backboard, but then, Wei jumps up and pushes the ball inside the basket for him and helps him score. Seeing that, everyone gets shocked and believes that this is what Wei's real strength looks like when he tries. Ding's grandfather then asks the principal curiously where Wei came from originally, so he tells him that he's from the batch that New Bridge High School scouted last year for their program. Ding's grandfather realizes with astonishment that his height, jumping power and his explosive strength is no joke at all, as he is at least at the level of a professional basketball player already. However, the principal says confidently that with this year's competing team lineup, they are going to surprise everyone with their strength and abilities on the court, but Ding's grandfather says wisely that basketball is played with a five-man team and not just one star player. On the other hand, Epha gets the ball in his hands, and he quickly passes it to Ding who tries to shoot immediately, but he just fakes the shot and runs forward until he finds a good spot, but he makes a mistake and the ball rebounds off the rim. After that missed opportunity, the ball gets to Wei who quickly passes it back to Epha. Epha throws the ball that goes straight inside the basket cleanly and surprises everyone watching, as they are proud of him for not being afraid to shoot anymore and gaining confidence. Ding's grandfather then asks the principal if he was talking about this boy specifically, who is not only a left-handed shooter, but he has some incredible talent hidden inside waiting to develop. The ball then gets to Baldy who runs straight down the court, but the girls start to defend properly as well despite the game going in the boys' favor and momentum shifting. On the other hand, Epha gets frustrated because a short-haired girl has been following and guarding him closely for some time now without letting up. Just then at that moment, Wei blocks the girl with his body while Epha escapes from there quickly and gets a pass from his teammate in the open space. Another girl then attacks him but he dodges her completely and throws the ball inside the basket. Seeing that, everyone starts cheering for him and says that his fake earlier was quite good. Coach Anna then tells everyone to get ready to defend because their opponents are attacking. Epha then looks at the scoreboard and realizes worriedly that they still need to score 9 points to catch up and win the game. In a flashback memory, Epha's brother asks him to go play with some kids in the basketball court nearby, but Epha says that they are so quick and fast that he can't even touch them properly or keep up with their speed. Epha's brother reminds him that if he gets picky like this about who he plays with then he is never going to improve his skills at all, but Epha tells him that he relies on techniques to win games and not just speed, and just as he is about to show something to prove his point, he falls on the ground clumsily. Seeing that failure, Epha's brother decides to teach him a sure kill technique that will help him score, and explains that when facing against a defender closely, he doesn't necessarily need to fight them head-on as he only needs to think of a way to evade their area of defense successfully, and then after that, he will be able to score easily. He then demonstrates the technique in front of Epha who gets stunned to see that he is still able to score even against tight defense. Back in the present, Epha gets the ball in his hands, but the same short-haired girl from before tries her best not to let him attack or get a good shot off. However, Epha steps back away from her and does his brother's signature three-pointer move that goes straight inside the basket perfectly and smoothly. Seeing that incredible shot, everyone gets stunned and amazed and wonders how he could possibly do that move so well and make it look easy. At the same time, some other students hear voices and sounds coming from the gym loudly, so they decide to check out the basketball match and see what's happening inside. But once they arrive at the court and look in, they are shocked to see everyone playing like beasts and competing intensely with incredible energy and passion. The second half then begins with intensity as Ding gets the ball in possession, but two girls from before once again block him and guard him closely. During halftime in the locker room, the girls are furious and upset that they failed to dominate the game in the first half, but their coach tells them calmly to get a good rest and do exactly what he says in the second half to win. First and most importantly, he tells them to double-team Ding consistently and it will be enough to hold back his solid defense and offensive abilities. Back in the present moment, Ding shoots a terrible pass that hits the basket rim hard and rebounds off of it. But this time fortunately, Wei catches it and secures possession. After that, Wei passes the ball to Epha quickly for an offensive opportunity, but this time surprisingly, the short-haired girl and Ing provide double coverage to Epha together, as he is a left-handed shooter primarily, so it's going to be hard for him to shoot comfortably from his preferred side with two defenders on him. However, Ing had asked Ding's grandfather earlier during halftime if they do double coverage again on Epha then they will be leaving one player unguarded on the court somewhere, so the coach asks her wisely if she hasn't noticed yet that except for the left-handed guy Epha, the others have hardly any point-scoring abilities or shooting skills to worry about. During the intense match, the Baldy and Wei both struggled badly to shoot the ball in the basket successfully, just as Ding's grandfather predicted exactly what would happen to them under pressure. Earlier during their training session, Ding's grandfather told the girls to remember what he taught them in training, that when on the offense playing, frequent passing and running can disturb the opponent's rhythm and momentum and create chances for a shot opportunity, but the most important thing is exhausting their energy and stamina completely. Back in the present moment, the girls pass the ball to each other smoothly and manage to score another shot successfully that surprises the boys and catches them off guard. Seeing that concerning development, Coach Anna wonders out loud why the boys are puffing and blowing all of a sudden like they're out of breath, as it looks like they are completely exhausted and tired already. The match then continues with the girls scoring another point easily and successfully, and now their score is 39 on the scoreboard while the boys are still at 30 points and falling further behind in the game. On the other hand, Ding's grandfather tells the principal honestly that his team was just put together recently and hasn't had much time to gel, but still has done a great job so far considering the circumstances and lack of experience, and his players look dangerous and talented in or around the key area when they attack, but they are not playing as one team cohesively yet or working together. At the same time, Fei also wonders to herself worriedly that when Ding and Epha are under tight defense pressure from multiple defenders, their only available tactic is to pass the ball to Wei for a post-up play in the key position down low. Epha gets benched and taken out of the game, and he asks Fei sadly if he is really that useless to the team. She says kindly that he is not playing bad at all and everybody is doing their job well, but Epha says with frustration that he can do nothing here to help them win. He then asks Coach Anna desperately to put him back on the court and let him play, but she gets furious at him and asks sternly if he really thinks he could go there and make a difference in the game right now. Fei then comes to Epha's side and tells him gently that he didn't realize something important, and that is if it wasn't for his encouragement and support, Wei and Baldy would never have stepped back on the court again to play, and then their basketball team wouldn't even exist at all today. However, Epha tells her with determination that he really doesn't want to lose this game anyhow no matter what happens. For the rest of the game duration, Epha just sat on the bench watching helplessly, and Ding was put under tight defense constantly while Wei's stamina was already at its limits and completely drained. Right before the final whistle blows, Ding runs with the ball straight down the court with everything he has left. After that moment, he runs straight towards the massive build girl and calls her a cow insultingly. Then suddenly, both of them just smash onto each other hard and fall on the ground together from the impact. So she wakes up from being dazed, and instead of getting furious at Ding for the inappropriate contact, she tells him seriously that her policy is that if a guy touches her chocolate cupcakes, then he automatically becomes her boyfriend no matter what. Hearing that, Ding runs away from her as fast as he can as she follows him around the court persistently. Just then at that exact moment, a guy in black hoodies comes to watch the game from the sidelines, drinking his soda casually, but then suddenly, his can falls over and spills directly onto Ding's head and soaks him. In the end and final result, the boys' team lost to the girls' team in the match completely. Afterwards, Ding's grandfather shakes hands with Coach Anna professionally and says that they really appreciate her efforts in this game and coaching the girls, but she replies confidently that when they get a proper coach for the boys, they will definitely crush them in a rematch. However, the principal says with a smile that there won't be a next time because Ding's grandfather is going to be their proper coach from now on and lead the team. Hearing that unexpected announcement, both the boys and the girls get surprised and shocked by the news, but the principal says that when he decided to re-establish the team earlier, he always wanted him to be their coach specifically, but he kept hesitating and refusing, so he arranged today's warm-up match to convince him. Hearing that explanation, Ding's grandfather says hesitantly that if he takes his offer then the city university and his girls' team won't let him go that easily from his current position. However, the girls are actually happy and relieved that he is going to leave them, so Epha asks them confused why they would be happy about it and want him to go. The short-haired girl says that Ding's grandfather is actually a scary guy to train under, and in daily training sessions, he may strike them as a joker and funny, but he always made them do push-ups for no reason or punishment. After that comment, Ding's grandfather says that he was planning to enjoy his happy and leisurely twilight years by coaching a university girls' team forever peacefully, but it seems like he has no choice but to take this job. Hearing that, the principal gets excited and asks Ding if he thinks the same about joining the team, but Ding is quite furious about it and tells his grandfather angrily that he tricked him into coming to this team deliberately, and now he is going to be the coach of their team as well, so he asks if he planned all this from the beginning. Ding's grandfather then gets angry as well and asks sternly if he has a problem with that arrangement or coaching. After that confrontation, Ding goes to Anna and grabs her by her shoulder, saying firmly that he wants to quit the team right now and leave. Hearing that, everyone gets shocked and surprised by what he said, but Ding tries to leave the gym immediately without another word, so Ding's grandfather tells everyone coldly to let him go because he is just a useless idiot who doesn't care about the team or anyone else. After he leaves through the door angrily, Anna tells Ding's grandfather honestly that she doesn't know the history between them two or what happened in the past, but she wants to remind him that they don't have enough players already on the roster to afford losing anyone right now. However, he then asks the others seriously if there is anyone else that wants to quit the team right now and leave like Ding did just now, but before the situation could escalate further and get worse, the principal thanks everyone for coming today and says that the bus will pick up the girls in a while to take them home safely. After a while, the principal says thoughtfully that Ding is getting more and more like him as he grows older in age, especially when it comes to temper and attitude problems that run in the family. Ding's grandfather gets furious at the comparison and says angrily that he is just a self-conceited guy who thinks that the earth wouldn't turn without him being there to make it work. The principal then asks curiously if there is something that happened between these two people in the past, as based on his character and personality it looks like he just put too much pressure on him and pushed too hard with his expectations. Ding's grandfather says defensively that he treated him like this because he is his grandson and family, and he has coached many players in his decades-long career as a coach, so he can tell whether a player has potential or not as soon as he looks at him and sees him play. At the same time, Anna gets furious that they are already short of players on the roster, and now at this critical moment right before the tournament, he just quits the team. Ding then tells Anna that they should get him back on the team and convince him, but she says that at this point in time, she would rather find some new players before it's too late to register. The next day, the team struggles in the practice, so Ding's grandfather thinks that they are all a bunch of useless rookies. However, the team is still worried about Ding not showing up today, but there is nothing they can do about it. They even talk amongst themselves about if he really quit the team permanently and how they are going to compete without him on the roster, and it would be better if a girl asked him to rejoin the team instead, but this makes Ding's grandfather furious as he asks them loudly if they still got time to care about him when they have bigger problems. Just then at that moment, Anna says that it's time for shooting practice to begin now, but Ding's grandfather tells her firmly that if a player does not have enough stamina for a full game duration, everything else they practice is a complete waste of time. After that instruction, the team continues with their running laps around the field, thinking to themselves that the old man is actually cruel and harsh with his training methods. At the same time, Ding is laying down on a bench at a park where he finds a nerd-looking boy desperately looking for something that is stuck on the tree branch above. The kid tries to jump up high to get that thing down, but instead of reaching the tree branch, his shoe gets stuck on the branch as well and makes things worse. Seeing that, Ding decides quickly to jump as high as he could to get the shoe and that thing down from the tree, but the kid then takes it away from Ding's hands immediately. It turns out, the kids who used to bully this boy actually put his thing on the tree because they were jealous of him and his achievements. The boy then gives one piece of his thing to Ding to help him out with getting it down, but Ding grabs the entire thing greedily instead of just one piece. This makes the boy angry and he says that he knows why Ding lost a game to some girls yesterday badly, but there is no reason for him to take his anger out on him like this. The boy further says that he knows the reason why he quit the team and his grandfather's coaching and says that it was the right decision for him to quit the team and walk away. Later that day, the kid takes Ding to a special place where height doesn't matter at all and there's no tedious training rules to follow, but he can only find the very essence of basketball, which is love and freedom to play. Just then suddenly, a guy with weird hairstyle approaches them as he recognizes Ding immediately and tells the kid excitedly that Invincible Ding is the one-on-one king here at this court, and on this court specifically, he has never lost a one-on-one game to anybody ever in his time playing. Hearing that impressive information, the kid thinks to himself that no wonder he knows nothing about teamwork at all, because he plays as a lone wolf player all the time. Ding then notices a crowd gathering around something and asks the guy curiously about it. So he says that today two guys they don't know at all came here asking for a 2-on-2 game challenge, and they have won 5 consecutive games already without losing. One of the guys then asks the crowd loudly if there is anyone who wants to play against them in a match right now, but none of them say anything at all or volunteer because they are too scared to go against them and their superior skills. Suddenly, Ding steps forward confidently and says that he would like to have a match with both of them right now. Seeing that bold move, everyone gets surprised that Ding is finally here to play and challenge them, but the guy asks skeptically if he really has a teammate to match with for the 2-on-2, so Ding says casually that he is going to play solo against both of them. The guy then tells his teammate named Tao to go rest on the sideline as he wants to go one-on-one with this guy and see what he's got in terms of skill. However, the other guy tells him firmly that it's either 2-on-2 or they are leaving and not playing at all, but then surprisingly, the nerd from before tells them nervously that he is going to team up with Ding even though he really doesn't want to do it. Ding then says that he is fine with that arrangement, but there's a condition that needs to be met, but then immediately, he whispers something secretly in the nerd's ear that nobody else can hear. Afterward, the opponent player tells everyone clearly that whoever scores 6 baskets first wins the game, and the game begins with Ding getting the ball in his possession. He then tries his best to run towards the basket with determination, but the opponent player doesn't let him get past easily and defends aggressively. Ding then somehow manages to break through the defense and quickly jumps high in the air to throw the ball in the basket successfully. That surprises everyone watching. Seeing that impressive move, the boy realizes that this was all part of Ding's plan from the beginning, as he wanted to go all alone from the very beginning and not rely on teammates. After that play, the boy asks his teammate named Tao about their plan and what they should do, but Tao tells him to make a plan on his own and figure it out, but be quick because it's already getting dark outside. Back at practice, Ding's grandfather tells Epha to stay behind for a while longer and perform 300 3-point shots more before he can leave for the day. Afterward, Ding's grandfather explains clearly that for a shooter like him, Epha's shooting action is way too slow and his shot can be easily blocked by defenders because of this. He tells Epha to make sure his body remembers the act of shooting perfectly and puts the action of shooting into his muscle memory completely. Epha tells him that he normally shoots 200 shots on average per day already, so now he has to do 300 more on top of that, which means that's 600 shots a day total to practice. However, Ding's grandfather tells him seriously that 300 shots per day is more than enough practice already and he shouldn't push himself too hard beyond that limit, because they all need to work on his poor stamina levels first before increasing the workload. At the same time, Tao asks the nerd curiously if he is not bored just waiting around doing nothing and why did he agree to such a meaningless request from Ding. The nerd replies smugly that ordinary people like him would never understand his reasoning. Ding then shows an amazing performance against that guy on the court, but the guy manages to steal the ball from Ding with a quick move which surprises Ding. He can't believe there was a talented basketball player like him here at this street court. The guy then throws a direct 3-point shot attempt that hits the basket rim hard, so he just jumps up quickly and puts it inside with a putback to score. On the other hand, Epha takes a break after throwing basketball for 150 times and during break, Ding's grandfather tells him to put some more height on his shot. He further says that it would have been great if Ding also worked half as hard as he does, but Epha asks him what really happened between them. Ding's grandfather then explains that Ding has been fond of basketball ever since he was a child and he stood out from his purse with his brilliant skills. However, as he grew a little older in age, he started his rigorous training program, hoping to develop him into a professional player one day. Moreover, he tells Epha that all of Ding's skills today are the fruits of rigorous training he underwent in those years of hard work, but after that period, Ding spent his entire free time reading adult magazines instead of practicing, so his grandfather caught him doing it. He tells him that when he becomes a professional player one day in the future, Tons of girls like those in the magazines will throw themselves at him without effort, but Ding gets angry and frustrated and says that his classmates can play video games and get girlfriends freely, so why is he the only one playing basketball so disciplined all the time, as he wants to play freely like them? Hearing that, Ding's grandfather gets mad and upset and says that no player ever achieved greatness by playing freely and leisurely without discipline. The next day during an important match, Ding showed incredible performance by scoring nearly 20 points in the first half alone. Surprisingly, he did it pretty much all by himself with his great individual skills. Ding asks his grandfather excitedly if he was awesome and played well, but he asks him seriously why he didn't pass to open teammates just now when they needed it, but Ding gets confused and asks back if he wants him to play with his useless team who can't keep up. Hearing that, Ding's grandfather decides to put him on the bench for the second half as punishment, as he needs time to think about what he said, but Ding gets furious and leaves the court, saying he is not going to play basketball anymore at all. Back in the present time, Ding's grandfather told Epha sadly that after that game incident, he never trained again seriously and he stayed out of his life since then and they haven't talked. Ding's grandfather then asks Epha curiously what Ding said when he and Wei went over to talk him over and convince him. Epha says honestly that he told him strictly that if his grandfather is the coach of the team, then he is not going to play in that team under any circumstances. At the same time during the game, the guy completely defeats Ding in the basketball match with a final score of 5-1 easily and dominantly. Tao then tells the nerd mockingly that by playing one-on-one style with his partner who is so skilled and talented, he is just asking to get humiliated and embarrassed badly in front of everyone. The match then continues with intensity as the guy gets the ball once again in his hands for another possession. He says urgently that if he doesn't go back home now then he is going to get in real trouble with someone waiting for him. He then tries to charge forward quickly to score the final point, but the nerd manages to steal the ball from him with a surprising move that surprises everyone watching in the crowd and shocks them. He then runs straight towards the basket with determination and tries to score a point for his team, but due to his short height he fails to reach high enough to make the layup, so he passes the ball backwards towards Ding for help and support. However, Ding doesn't shoot the ball when he gets it, so Tao intercepts the ball once again successfully, and he and the nerd whose name is Zhe run head-to-head with each other competitively. Zhe manages to get the ball back, which surprises viewers as they think and say that the game has completely turned around. Zhe then starts dribbling around with the ball skillfully and then he quickly runs past Tao after touching the ball on his foot intentionally, so everyone wonders and debates if he did that on purpose or by accident. The other guy then shows up suddenly to steal the ball away, but before he could steal it successfully, Zhe passes the ball back to Ding perfectly, which shocks everyone watching in amazement. They thought that Zhe could only do some tricks for entertainment because they have never seen him in a real match before, so the pass is quite impressive from him. Ding then jumps straight towards the basket with power and tries to throw it inside for a score, but the other guy also jumps at the same time and both of them clash together in midair. The guy then manages to intercept the ball successfully and tells Ding confidently that he doesn't even stand a chance in a one-on-one match, so a 2-on-2 match will be even worse for him and more humiliating. The guy then leaves the match early, saying that he has some other stuff to do elsewhere, but everyone then notices suddenly that Tao has the ball in his possession and he throws it towards the basket immediately. It turns out, it's a three-pointer shot that surprises everyone because it's going to be 2 points and now, Tao's team has 7 points in total. After that, Tao and his teammate leave, talking about their usual routine, but then, Ding tells the other guy that they are going to play one more game tomorrow on this court. However, the guy replies seriously that if he keeps playing alone like this without teamwork, then he is going to go nowhere in life or basketball. He also says that their school team came here to play a warm-up match with another team, but they were bored staying indoors all day, so they came to have some fun out here on the street court, and more importantly he has lost interest in him as a player. The guy then introduces himself formally as Lin Baitian from Ming Cheng School and says confidently that if he wants to defeat him in a real match, that it could only happen in a senior high school tournament setting. On their way home walking, Tao asks Lin curiously why he said all that stuff to them at the end of the game, as he himself is not good enough for the senior high tournament level anyway. Lin replies thoughtfully that the yellow-haired guy Ding could have played better than he did today if he tried, so if he just plays street basketball then it's a waste of his talent and potential, but Tao says that he has no interest in him personally, but it was actually the kid in the glasses who drew his attention and interest. Later that night, Zhe and Ding go to an arcade gaming zone where they both play the basketball throwing game. Ding quickly takes the ball and takes out his anger in it, scoring the highest point, that is 999. After that, Ding and Ja stand beside the river where Ding tells him that he always thought that he was invincible and his teammates were just baggage he had to carry, so he never expected that he would lose a one-on-one to anyone his age. He further adds that he thought he could defeat any opponent so long as I was in the game, but in the end, it was all a fantasy. Hearing that, Ja gets furious and says that he thought he was a funny guy, but he was totally wrong. He says that he broke his record which he worked years to get in the arcade with little effort, and it made him quite jealous, but the funny thing is that just one defeat has completely destroyed his confidence. He then says that he has never won even once in his entire life and asks Ding if he knows why he had to pass the ball to him. Ja says that his height is only 158 centimeters, so if he hadn't passed his shot would definitely have been blocked, and with a height like this, he is not even qualified for any basketball team. The next day at school, some guys talk amongst themselves about two guys who lost a basketball match at Old Bridge Street Court last night badly, and they said that one of them was called Invincible Ding who got destroyed. Wei then asks them skeptically if they really think that Ding is going to suffer a crushing defeat like that and accept it, but then suddenly Ding shows up at the gym entrance. Ding then walks up to his grandfather directly and asks if he does what he tells him to do, then do they have a chance of beating Mingchen High School in competition? Hearing that surprising question, everyone gets shocked and surprised by what he's asking, but Epha tells them that his brother was in their team before and it's a sports school in their city known for athletics, but the main point is that it's one of the top basketball schools in the entire country with amazing players. Ding's grandfather then throws training gloves at his face hard, saying that if a man once decided what he has to do, then it's not about whether they can or not accomplish it, but they simply do that without question. He then tells Ding that he should put sandbags on his legs and go and do 20 laps running around the field right now. Ding starts running on the ground with the sandbags while Anna and Fei talk about the entire situation happening, and Fei says that she has no idea what happened to change his mind, but it's good to see that Ding is finally willing to take something seriously for once. Later in the locker room area, Ding tells everyone gathered that the registration deadline for the senior high tournament is just a few days away from now, and they are still 2 players short of the minimum requirement. He then says that he knows a guy who can play basketball well and draws a picture of Ja on paper, saying he just knows his looks and appearance, and other than that he has no information on him at all. Ding further tells them that he is 158 centimeters tall, but Anna wonders skeptically if that height is really enough for a basketball player to be effective. After that discussion, everyone goes out to find Ja around the school except for Epha, because Anna tells him to go meet with Daan instead, as he has perfect height and physique for basketball, so she wants him on the team as well and needs him recruited. Later that day, Epha runs into Wei and Baldy who ask him if he found that kid Ding was talking about and looking for, but he says he hasn't found him yet anywhere. On their way walking through the hallway, Epha finds a picture of Ja on the notice board as he got first position in the mathematics competition recently. They all then meet Ja in person, who recognizes Epha immediately as the left-handed shooter in the basketball team who has poor stamina issues, but Epha gets shocked and confused and wonders how he knows all this information about him. Ja then notices Wei and Baldy standing behind Epha and gets scared of their appearance, so he runs away quickly from them. However, Epha quickly tells him loudly that they are here to ask him to join their basketball team and play with them, but Ja starts crying emotionally when he hears all this and the invitation. They then take Ja to the club room where everyone takes his interview as if he is there for a job interview position. Epha then says and reveals that Ja is actually 15 years old only, but thanks to his great academic performance and intelligence, their school just skipped him ahead to year 3 to join older students. Suddenly, Ding's grandfather shows up in the room and says that they should try a half-court 4-on-4 match right now to test his abilities. After that decision, the match begins with Ja showing incredible skills and basketball IQ that surprises everyone watching him play for the first time. Ding's grandfather then tells Ja impressed that he could be a great point guard for the team because they were also searching for one desperately since they don't have one in their team currently. Ja then starts getting emotional as he can't believe that he is finally getting accepted into the team when all his life he has been bullied and rejected for his height. The next day, Epha runs into Fei and tells her that he feels that he has made quite a bit of progress in his skills, but she tells him that Anna asked him to bring Daan into the team as a priority. He tells her that he sent a text message to him earlier today, but he thinks that the answer will be the same no matter how many times he asks him to join, but she wonders if they need to discuss it with the whole team for ideas. Epha then asks Wei and Baldy for help with recruiting him, but they ruin the plan by trying to ask him furiously instead of being persuasive. After that failed attempt, she suggests that if they want to win a man's heart then they have to appeal to his appetite first with food. He tells them that he has been a sucker for spicy gluten snacks for a dozen years now, so he approaches Daan and tells him that if he joins the team then he is going to give them all to him as a gift. However, Daan shows him his lunch, which is carrots, but she gets scared and runs away because he hates them. After their plan B fails, Ding decides to try plan C, which is that he gives adult comics to Daan with a note underneath that if he joins, then he can get tons of the good stuff. It turns out, their plan C also fails, so Ding gets furious and asks if he doesn't like girls, but Epha says that it seems like Daan has never been involved in any extracurricular activities and doesn't have any friends either. The next day, the boys change their attire completely and decide to follow Daan around to convince him. It turns out, Daan goes to a cafe to meet up with a blonde girl there, but seeing them together, the boys think that she might be his girlfriend or something. Daan then orders some drinks for himself and heads out, telling the boys to get inside and have some drinks on him. He then tells them to get back to their training once they are done drinking and don't waste their time on him anymore. Ding and Wei then try to convince Epha that they should leave now, as Daan seems like he is not interested in them at all or joining. The girl also agrees with them, saying Daan never has any expression on his face ever. After that comment, the girl reveals that she is actually Daan's older sister and not his girlfriend, but she got furious at them for thinking she was his mom because of her appearance. Wei then tells her honestly that they want Daan to join their basketball team at school, but the girl's expression changes suddenly, and she asks if they want to take her younger brother away from her side. Afterward, she starts laughing loudly, saying they really thought she was serious about not wanting him to join. Epha wonders to himself if they really are brother and sister because both of their personalities are completely different from each other. The girl then tells them that Daan really liked basketball when he was a young kid growing up, always playing until late into the night without stopping. However, the boys ask her curiously why did he leave basketball then and stop playing, so she starts singing songs and jokes around playfully before revealing that their family never worried about Daan's academic performance or daily life choices, but in any case, regardless, she just hopes he's able to enjoy his youth just like every other youngster his age. The next day at practice, Anna informs the boys that Daan agreed to join the team officially, which shocks the boys and surprises them completely. Anna further says that he won't be taking part in training sessions or participating in any matches right now, but they have to get him here for training later on eventually. After that announcement, Ding's grandfather informs everyone that the schedule for the preliminary round is out and released, and their first opponent is none other than the champion of last year's city tournament competition, Shuangshi High School team. Later during the week, the director of the new bridge team thinks to himself that he has nothing to do with basketball even though he is the director of the Office of Academic Affairs at the school. He tries his best to plot plans and schemes, so that he can expel Wei and Baldy from the new bridge team permanently and shut down the program. He starts following them everywhere from running on the track field, to practicing basketball indoors in the gym, but he can't find any reason or violation to expel them from school. He wonders to himself if they have finally found a meaning in life as he observes how focused they are in playing and practicing basketball seriously. A few days later after watching them, the director finds Wei and Baldy practicing outside school even in their spare time and free hours, and he can't believe any of this dedication and transformation. He then thinks about what the principal told him earlier and wonders if he is really misunderstanding the team and their intentions, but then suddenly, he notices Ding messing around with his bicycle's tire and damaging it. Finally, the day of the important match arrives between Shuangshi High School and New Bridge School. The director also arrives to watch the match personally, thinking that if they lose badly then there won't be any other good reason to keep the basketball team alive and running. Just then, Team Shuangshi arrives at the stadium and seeing their star player named Su Liang walking in, all the girls in the audience start cheering for him loudly. On the other hand, Yong Dong also arrives outside the stadium with his friend who asks him curiously if he is still interested in basketball and wants to watch. Yong Dong then thinks about his memories with Wei and their past together and turns around, saying it's just a game between two teams that they are not going to watch anymore and should leave. Ding's grandfather then tells the team firmly not to lose their focus and concentration and show everyone watching that they are going to be the best basketball team in the city this year. After that motivating speech, both teams get on the court and Epha and Zhe are stunned and intimidated to see how tall and imposing Shuangshi players are in person standing before them. Su Liang from the opposite team recognizes Wei as the center player who went crazy because of that hacking strategy last year during the match. He further says arrogantly that they won't be using dirty strategies against a third-rate team like them because they don't need to cheat, but Ding gets furious and angry, so Wei stops him from doing anything. Wei then asks the guy about Yong Dong and where he is, so he says mockingly that last year their coach went a bit mad and picked up that trash player from their school, but Yong Dong only deserves to pick up trash from their school now. Hearing that insulting comment, Epha tells Wei to stop talking with them and ignore their provocations. The match then begins with Epha getting the ball in his hands, but he quickly passes it towards Jia to start the offense. However, another player on the opposite team intercepts the ball with his reach. The guy then passes the ball to Su Liang, who then throws it inside the basket successfully and scores a point for his team early. Seeing that impressive play, all the girls in the audience start cheering for him loudly, thinking they are not the city champion team for nothing and deserve their title. The match then continues with the other team completely dominating against Epha and his team on both ends of the court. Fei realizes worriedly that their players are taller than theirs in almost every position on the floor, and they are being held back from the beginning because of that significant disadvantage. Baldy then throws the ball towards Wei in the paint, but another tall player from the opposite team intercepts it easily and quickly passes the ball to his teammate, who then scores a point using a three-pointer shot. Soon after, with their height and size advantage, Shuangshi quickly brought the score to 9-0 and dominated early in the game. Seeing that, Anna asks Ding's grandfather for a timeout to regroup the team, but he says calmly that the game just started recently, so they should watch for some more time and see what happens. At the court, Su Liang starts laughing at the boys mockingly, asking if they really think that they can stand a chance against them and their superior team. However, Wei says back confidently that they are not worthy of their name and reputation, and Yong Dong is a much better player than they are combined. Ding and Jia also start making fun of them as well, saying they are a bunch of losers with weird hairstyles and no real skills. However, Su Liang replies smugly that they are way behind on the score right now and they are only a few minutes into the game so far, so they have no right to be this arrogant and confident. Just then, Jia steals the ball from them with quick hands and quickly breaks through another player's defense successfully. After that play, Jia tries to jump up, but turns out it's a fake move to deceive defenders, so he quickly passes the ball to Wei just before a guy tries to steal it from him aggressively. Wei then quickly scores a point using a powerful two-handed dunk that energizes the team. The match then continues with Jia showing amazing performance by stealing the ball as much as he could from opponents, and this time, he passes it to Ding, who then also scores a goal successfully. After that basket, Shuangshi scored 2 points with a middle distance shot to respond. But then suddenly, the new bridge changed its strategy to dribble penetration and Wei responded quickly to the adjustment. The ball then gets to one of the players from the opposite team, who thinks confidently that this short guard named Jia is a fatal flaw in New Bridge's defense system, so all they need to do is keep attacking on this side repeatedly and exploit the weakness. He then tries to shoot the ball over Jia and take advantage of the height difference, but Ding intercepts the pass with good timing, so the ball gets to Jia in transition and they have a fast break opportunity. After that turnover and steal, Jia runs towards the basket quickly with speed, but he soon gets ambushed by another player blocking his path and cutting him off, so he quickly passes the ball to Epha, who is open, and he then scores another point using a three-pointer shot successfully and extends the lead. At the same time, Yong Dong and his friend arrive at the stadium entrance, but the guy asks Yong Dong confused why are they back here again when they said they were leaving. Yong Dong tells him casually that they got nothing else to do anyway with their time, so they should just watch the match to kill their time and see what happens. However, once Yong Dong looks at the scoreboard, he gets shocked and stunned and can't believe that the score is going head-to-head and it's competitive. During the match, Jia shows amazing performance by running away with the ball skillfully and passing it to Wei when the right time comes perfectly for scoring opportunities. Eventually, the ball gets to Epha, who shoots another three-pointer successfully and cleanly and takes the lead by 5 points for their team on the board. Shuangshi's coach gets furious at his team for ruining their first match in the preliminary round and playing so poorly against an inferior opponent. Meanwhile, another team is running towards the stadium to watch the match. The team includes Tao and his friend, who matched with Ding a few days ago on the street court. The coach tells the team that it's not Shuangshi they are here to watch play, but another team instead. It's New Bridge High School led by the legendary Mr. Ding as their coach. At the court during play, Wei manages to block another shot attempt successfully, and now, the ball gets to Epha in transition. Instead of shooting immediately, he quickly passes the ball back to Jia, who then does a backward pass without looking, and the ball gets to Ding perfectly for an easy shot. After that, Ding scores another point with an amazing dunk that electrifies the crowd, and then Ding and Jia start mocking Su Liang arrogantly that makes the audience furious and upset at their disrespect. At that exact moment, Mingcheng High School, which is known to be the best team in their province, arrives at the stadium to scout. Lin and Tao recognize someone named Lei from Fengzi Gongshang School and ask him about the New Bridge team and their potential, so he replies honestly that they are still too immature and inexperienced to compete at higher levels. Su Liang then wonders worriedly that all those elite guys are here to watch their game closely, so if they lose their first match then they will be a laughingstock in front of everyone. He then tells his team firmly that they have to be tough on Team New Bridge and stop playing around, so they have no choice but to use their secret tactic that they've been hiding. The match then continues with Su Liang's team playing aggressively against them. During the match, Ding gets an offensive foul call even though it is the other team's mistake and they initiated the contact. Afterward, the match continues with Ding running straight down the court with the ball in his hands, but before another guy could catch up to him, he throws a fadeaway shot over the defender. The ball then hits the basket rim hard and rebounds off of it, so Su Liang easily catches it and thinks to himself that he needs to watch out for an interception by Jia on this possession. So, he looks around carefully, but he can't find Jia anywhere on the court, but then suddenly, Jia appears out of nowhere behind him and tries to steal the ball from him. That makes Su Liang furious, so he just pushes him away hard. Su Liang then receives a flagrant foul call from the referee for the excessive contact, but Ding gets furious and tries to hit Su Liang in retaliation. After that chaotic moment, Jia gets up slowly and tells Epha that he is fine and not hurt badly, but he can't find his glasses anywhere on the floor, so it turns out Su Liang stepped on them and broke them. Since Jia's glasses are broken completely, he is substituted out of the game after missing 2 free throws badly, and Ding is also substituted out temporarily for his violent behavior. The match then continues with Wei throwing the ball towards the basket, but it hits the basket rim instead and rebounds off, and the opponent team easily gets possession of it. Seeing that, Yong Dong thinks to himself that New Bridge has no chance now to win this game. After that, Shuangshi gets the ball and uses this opportunity to score easily and extend their lead. Wei once again gets the ball in the paint and he tries his best to score, but he ends up getting a reaching foul called on him, so Su Liang thinks confidently that they can take advantage of Wei throwing free throws poorly like last time. After that foul, Wei gets the free throw opportunity. He throws the ball carefully, which ends up going inside the basket cleanly and successfully. In a flashback, Wei and Epha are practicing their shooting together after practice, and Wei asks Epha to teach him free throws and help him improve. After that request, Epha demonstrates the moves clearly on how he can throw a free throw shot properly with good form, and then after learning, Wei practiced free throws every single day after training sessions to improve. Back in the present, Wei shoots the ball once again, but it doesn't go inside the basket and rebounds, so now Shuangshi gets the ball. Afterward, Bridge lost its effective control on the ball with Xia and Ding on the bench. Shuangshi regained the advantage and gradually started to pull away. Wei still doesn't give up and continues to fight Shuangshi's tight defenses. One of the players from the opposite team thinks that he won't let Wei score so easily even if it means fouling him, and no other players from New Bridge can make a basket now either. The ball then gets to Epha, who then throws it towards the basket, but it hits the hook and rebounds. The match then moves forward with Wei getting the ball, and just as he tries to run forward, he ends up falling badly on the ground. Suddenly, Yong Dong shows up at the bench and asks Wei if that's all he's got and if he really thinks that he can march into the provincial tournament like this with his performance. Wei then gets up angrily and says that he is better than Yong Dong will ever be, so he is going to win this match no matter what it takes. The match continued with Shuangshi getting the ball on offense. They try their best to score a basket, but it doesn't work out, so the ball gets to Baldi, who then quickly runs towards the opposite side to score on the fast break. He then passes the ball to another player who makes a direct shot attempt, but the ball hits the basket rim and rebounds off as usual and frustratingly. After that missed shot, Wei appears out of nowhere and steals the ball before it could get to the players of the opposite team and they can secure it. Wei then quickly jumps at the basket to score with power, but Su Liang grabs his arm to foul him, but still Wei doesn't give up and throws the ball inside the basket successfully despite the contact. Seeing that, Lin says that he never expected New Bridge to have such a talented player in their team with that ability, but Lin's coach says that he could have been their teammate instead. He explains that in last year's tryout at their school, Wei didn't get through and make the team because of his poor shooting skills and lack of fundamentals. On the other hand, Yong Dong tells his friend suddenly that all of a sudden, he wants to play basketball once again and feels the urge. Now, New Bridge is just 4 points behind in the score, but Ding's grandfather tells Ding seriously that if he tries a head-on tactic at a time like this, then he will be falling into their trap and playing right into their hands. After that warning, Ding also gets back on the game and into play, but one of the opposite team players tries to find ways to irritate Ding again and get under his skin. However, Ding fools him completely with a smart move and steals the ball from him before scoring another point for the team successfully. A flashback shows Su Liang, who always wanted to play basketball since he was a little kid. However, loving basketball wasn't enough for him because in sport, only the winner is remembered, as if they live in a result-oriented world where the winner takes it all. Back in the present, Shuangshi felt even more overwhelmed by the highly conditioned Wei and Ding in the fourth quarter, and soon, the game was over with New Bridge winning the match. Just then suddenly, the coach of Lin's team approaches Ding's grandfather and starts making fun of him mockingly, saying the women's team was the perfect place for him after all these years. Ding's grandfather then starts laughing sarcastically and asks what brings him here to this unimportant preliminary match when he is the coach of the famous Mingcheng High School basketball program. The next day at school, some boys talk about how the basketball team won the match against a bunch of clowns who weren't even good players. Suddenly, they notice that Epha is also sitting in the class nearby and they recognize him from the basketball team that won yesterday. Epha tells them humbly that it was everyone's effort together that they won the match yesterday and not just one person. Later that afternoon, Epha goes to the field to practice his dribbling skills alone, but then suddenly, she also arrives at the court to practice. Epha then asks him politely to teach him how to dribble better because he is the best dribbler in their team and has the most skill. After that, Zhe explains that dribbling is similar to shooting in many ways and tries to demonstrate how it works with the ball. Epha tells him honestly that they were put in a difficult situation after he left the court yesterday with his injury, and even though he can shoot well, there's nothing he can do against a tight defense when they pressure him. After training ends, Zhe gets back to his home with Epha to show him all the videos from where he taught himself basketball fundamentals, because no one was willing to play with him growing up. At the same time, Zhe's dad is outside the room and overhearing everything through the door, thinking mistakenly that the boys are watching inappropriate videos together. Half an hour later, Zhe tells Epha that now they have watched all the videos completely, all they have to do is just go and practice on the court. However, Zhe's father freaks out worriedly, wondering where his 15-year-old son is going to practice these moves he's been watching. He then decides to follow the boys secretly, but they just lead him to the basketball court, so he finally calms down and realizes his mistake and leaves relieved. The next day at school, some bullies caught Zhe and they tried to mess with him again by throwing one of his things on the tree like last time to see if he could really jump high enough and get it back down. Just as one of the bullies tries to throw it up, Wei, Baldy, Ding and Epha show up suddenly and so, the bullies get scared and nervous, but then unexpectedly, the director shows up as well at the scene. Instead of shouting at the team players like usual, the director yells at the bullying students angrily and scolds them for trying to bully other students in the school repeatedly and then framing innocent students too for things they didn't do or cause. The director then tells the team players to leave immediately from the area, thinking to himself that today is a big day because some high-ranking officials from the provincial government are here for an inspection visit at the school. On their way, the boys wonder curiously that the director seems quite different these days as he is not messing around with them or causing problems like he used to before. Zhe then shows everyone excitedly his new outfit that his dad bought him as a gift recently, so with these new clothes on, he thinks confidently that no one will be able to stop him ever again on the court. After that gathering, the team assembles in the court where Epha notices that a lot of people have come to watch their match today in the stands. Anna then tells them that it's all because they beat Shuangshi last time impressively, and today is a home game for them, so they should do their best and win to keep the momentum going. The match then continued with New Bridge showing amazing performance and skills. They completely defeated Xiangan Senior High School with a dominant score of 82 to 5 points. Later in the tournament, New Bridge encounters the headband team known as Songjiang High, but everyone gets surprised to see that they all are wearing matching headbands on their heads. In the first quarter of the game, the two teams were locked in a close battle back and forth. By the end of the quarter, New Bridge had gained a slight advantage with a 23-2 lead on the scoreboard. New Bridge then took the first 2 points of the second quarter immediately. After that possession, Yenzawei secured an important rebound for the team. The match continues with Epha getting the ball in his hands, and he tries his best to run past an opponent player guarding him, but just as the guy tries to steal the ball away, Epha remembers a video of a dribble move he practiced, so he uses that technique successfully and gets through the defense. Epha then passes the ball to Zhe, who then fakes a jump, but then, he passes the ball back to Ding. After that, Ding scores a point for the team that surprises everyone. This attack proved to be a turning point in the game as New Bridge extended their lead with an 11-2 run, and by the end of third quarter, New Bridge was leading Songjiang High School by 19 points, but then, New Bridge won the match. The commentator then announces loudly that the captains from both teams should line up with their team members for introductions, but everyone wonders who New Bridge's captain is since they don't know. Earlier before the tournament started, Anna tells the team that they need to choose a captain for the team now officially, so she says that both the coach and she think Wei is the man for that responsibility. Everyone then says that Wei seems to be the good guy for that role given his skills, but just says that they all have no sense of responsibility at all and suggests that the most senior player here should take on the role of captain instead, so their team is in need of a mature leader right now to guide them. He then tells everyone confidently that he would like to be the captain himself and volunteer, and just like that the title fell into the hands of Zhe without much debate. Back in the present moment, the team greets each other respectfully and leaves the center court area. The next day, Coach Ding tells everyone that they are finally going to the city preliminary final match, and he thought that their next opponent would be West City High School, who got the better of New Bridge last year in competition, but what he didn't expect was that halfway through the competition this year, Shanha High School would make an appearance and advance. The coach then explains that it's a private high school that was only recently established in the area, and this year they brought in tons of sports students from across the nation using scholarships as a form of motivation and recruitment. He also reminds the team seriously that there are two centers in their team that they cannot underestimate at all, as they are called the Twin Towers and dominate inside. After the explanation, Coach Ding asks everyone where Epha is right now, so Anna tells him that he asked for leave to deal with something at home and won't be at practice. On the other hand, Epha visits his brother's grave with his parents and tells him about his high school basketball and how it's been going for him this season. Epha then says that he is going to be a strong man like he told him and he will become the best player out there for him. The next day, Zhe and the others ask Epha at lunchtime where he was yesterday because as the team captain, he believes that he should know everything about team members. Epha tells them honestly that it was his older brother's death anniversary, but Zhe asks him to tell them everything about what happened to him. Epha tells them that his brother was studying at Mingchang High School at that time, so he would only come back home at the weekends to visit, and when he did come home, they played basketball together every time. In a flashback, Epha's older brother tells him seriously that if he goes one day without practicing basketball, it will take him 3 days to get his groove back and return to form. He also tells Epha excitedly that in a few days he will be leaving to play in the national tournament with his school team. Wei then tells Epha thoughtfully that hearing all that story makes him think that his older brother was an amazing player with great dedication and skill. Later that night, Wei and Epha practice together at the court. Epha tells Wei that if they win their game tomorrow, they will go to the provincial tournament. Epha then shares his backstory honestly, saying he was just hoping he could play basketball without being bullied when he got to high school, and he never thought or expected he would meet so many friends here who were also into basketball like him. The next day, at the Municipal Sports Center, Coach Ding tells the team to relax and stay calm. When they enter the court, they are surprised to see that so many people have come from their school to support them. Just then suddenly, Shanha High School shows up as they are going to face New Bridge in the final, but not only that, but other professional teams are also present in the sports center to watch their game and scout talent. During the warm-up period, Wei notices the legendary dual towers on the other team and realizes that they are so tall just like Daan is in height and build. It turns out, the names for the tall twins are Zhang and Chen, so Wei tells his team that he will take the tallest one to guard while Ding is going to handle Chen and defend him. After that strategy talk, the match begins with Chen taking the ball to his side first, and then immediately, everyone just rushes to get the ball and defend. Eventually, the ball gets to Chen who then quickly gets past Ding with a move and scores a point by throwing the ball towards the basket but it just rebounds off the rim, so Zhang appears out of nowhere and puts it inside with a putback. 15 minutes earlier before the game, Coach Ding told the team that their opponents have two giant centers on their roster, and under the basket they don't stand much chance against their size, but the gods are fair to everyone, they might open one window for them, but they would close another opportunity. The coach then tells Zhe specifically that he wants him to speed up the tempo for the team during this match and play fast. Back in the present, Zhe gets the ball and he quickly runs down the court, but then immediately, he passes it to Epha who then shoots a three-pointer successfully. The ball then goes inside the basket which gets New Bridge 3 points. The match then continues with Chen getting the ball, so Ding tries his best to steal the ball from him but due to his tall height and insane reflexes he dodges him and scores another point for the team. Zhang then asks Ding if he is wondering how a giant like this could have such terrific skills and asks if he wanna know, so Ding shows interest, but the guy says he won't tell him and leaves. The match then continues with Zhe getting the ball. He notices that Ding is quite furious because all he wants to do is play the game alone but giving the ball right now would be a bad idea. Zhe then passes the ball to Epha who then tries to do another three-pointer shot that surprises everyone but instead of shooting, he does a fake which really worked. After that, Zhe scores the point by throwing the ball at the basket and everyone starts cheering for him, saying he is a great player as a lefty. The match then continues with Chen getting the ball and this time he completely dodges Ding and throws the ball in the basket. Baldy scores a goal for New Bridge and Anna thinks that he has been playing great lately and the reason could be that he is always practicing his shooting with Wei. Following that, Zhang also scored a goal while Wei couldn't stop him at all. Wei then throws the ball to the other side of the court that Zhe catches, thinking apart from the dual towers, the rest of them don't appear to be all that great. Zhe then runs towards the basket, giving a signal to Epha to come closer, so that he can give him a pass. Zhe then fools Epha around, and when the players get distracted, he quickly passes the ball back to Epha. At that moment, Chen appears out of nowhere and tries to intercept the ball in mid-air aggressively, but before he could even touch it or get his hands on it successfully, Epha throws another three-pointer shot successfully and scores more points for the team. Shanha High School then requests a timeout from the referee to regroup, but Ling, who is watching from the crowd, thinks to himself that he never thought Shanha would request the first timeout of the game so early, as it looks like New Bridge have had a great start to the match so far and are playing well. However, Ling's coach says thoughtfully that in the last game against Chuangshi team, he just failed to notice something important about their players, and that left-handed shooter Epha reminds him of someone from the past that he knows or has seen before. Right after the timeout is finished and play resumes on the court, Chen posted up Ding in the paint area and made another 2 points successfully with his size advantage, so now the score is the same for both teams and they're tied up on the scoreboard. Ling's coach then says analytically that things won't be easy for the New Bridge from here on out, with Shanha's domination in the paint area continuing, and the New Bridge will be totally pinned down and controlled inside throughout the game. During the previous timeout, the Shanha's coach tells a player to swap positions with another guy on the court, and they can double up on number 20 when necessary to stop him. Back in the present moment, the guy tries his best to stick around with Epha closely, but he thinks confidently that he doesn't even have to double up on him, as he alone is more than enough for him to handle and defend. However, Epha tries to fake a shot to deceive him, but instead of shooting, he breaks through with a drive, so the guy starts following him closely down the court. After that move, Epha finds a perfect timing and shoots the ball up, but the guy blocks it and gets a hand on it. Despite that block, the ball gets back to Epha, who finds the guy creepy as he is pressing against his back tightly and uncomfortably. He then passes the ball to Wei, who is already struggling against Zhang and thinks that he can't rush into an offensive move because if he misses the shot, it's going to rebound again to the other team. At that exact moment, another player of the opposite team steals the ball from Wei with quick hands and shoots it towards the basket immediately, but it rebounds off the rim. Ling thinks that those dual towers are really dangerous as they are way too much for Wei to deal with. But Ling's coach replies that with those giant centers in the lane, the others can go for outside shots without hesitating, but the same can't be said for the New Bridge. He thinks their most reliable scorer so far is now a marked man. The match continues with Baldi trying to score a point, but Chen blocks it and throws it back towards Zhang. In the end, Zhang does a dunk and scores another point for his team. Zhe gets the ball and he tries to perform a dunk shot, but due to his short height and size, Chen manages to intercept the ball easily. Ling's coach thinks analytically that Zhe is not much of a scorer or offensive threat, but he still has some skills and tactics in his play style, but his height is a severe weakness that limits him. The ball then gets to Zhang, who scores another point like usual with his dominance inside, and then shortly after, Shanha pretty soon extended their lead to 8 points with a 12-2 burst of scoring. Zhang then tells Ding mockingly to forget about playing well because Chen played as a guard before he grew up into a giant player, and there's no way he will be able to guard him properly with his skills. Zhang then asks him about Daan curiously, asking when is he going to come out and play in the game, but Ding says confidently that he doesn't care about what position Chen played before in the past since he can't stop him from scoring, but what he lacks in defense ability, he will make up for in scoring ability and putting points on the board. The ball gets to Zhe, who looks around frantically and wonders who he should pass the ball to for a good shot. Everyone is blocked tightly by the players of the opposite team defending well. He then quickly passes the ball to Ding with no other options, thinking he is going to shoot because he is almost at the three-point line and in range. Surprisingly to everyone, Ding throws the ball confidently that goes straight inside the basket cleanly and scores. After that successful basket, the match continues and Shanha's tall players get back at New Bridge by scoring a goal in response, and now there is only 8 seconds remaining in the quarter. Ding quickly gets the ball from Zhe and scores another point with a powerful dunk successfully. With that final basket, the first quarter comes to an end. During the break period, Coach Ding tells everyone that in a situation like this, it takes a fearless man like Ding to break the deadlock and momentum, and now he wants Ding to initiate the offensive plays moving forward. Ding then wonders to himself when was the last time his grandfather really praised him genuinely like this. After that break, the match begins again with Ding getting the ball in possession, but Chen does his best to block him and defend him aggressively. Despite that tight defense, he does a fake move and breaks through Chen successfully with a quick move. Ding then tries to shoot the ball, but Zhang blocks his way defensively, but still he somehow shoots the ball with difficulty that goes inside the basket successfully. Seeing that, everyone gets shocked and amazed and wonders who this player is, as he just penetrated through Zhang's defense all by himself without help. Ling's coach realizes that it was Ding, the grandson of the new bridge head coach, and hearing that information, Ling gets even more excited to match him someday in competition. After that basket, the match continued with Ding scoring goals one after another consistently, and now he has scored 8 points in a row, which is impressive. After that run, Chen steals the ball from him with good timing and scores a goal for his team. The ball then gets to Ding, who then does some dribbling moves, but just as he is about to shoot, the massive girl from the women's soccer team arrives at the gym that distracts Ding completely, so he just loses his focus and concentration and the ball gets to Zhang easily. Taking advantage of Ding's mistake and distraction, Shanha made a counterattack play and easily took down another 2 points on the board, but due to this, the deficit was back to 10 points difference. Sometime later, Ding's grandfather thinks to himself that they have managed to keep the deficit in single-digit numbers, and basically Ding carried New Bridge through almost the whole second quarter with his scoring. Afterwards, Shanha requests a timeout, and during the break, Ding's grandfather tells Epha that he is putting him on the bench for now. Once the timeout gets over, Ding's grandfather tells Wei to relax and play the game as if he were in training. The match then continues with both teams playing aggressively, but then Shanha is 13 points ahead of New Bridge on the scoreboard. Ling thinks that getting those rebounds is going to be good for Shanha's confidence, but his coach thinks that if it goes on like this, then a defeat will be a foregone conclusion for New Bridge. On the other hand, Ding manages to steal the ball with quick hands and tries to shoot immediately, but he does a fake move and passes it to Zhe instead to surprise them. Seeing that smart play, Shanha's coach thinks that Zhe is starting to become their threat now and needs to be watched carefully. Zhe then passes the ball to Wei, who is already getting blocked by Zhang in the paint area. At the same time, watching closely, Anna wonders to herself that if only they had a post player who could go up against those centers effectively. Then suddenly, she looks at Daan sitting on the bench. Ding then gets the ball back and he tries for a dunk with Zhang standing in front of him to block. During a play, Ding and Zhang clash onto each other physically, and because of that contact, Ding ends up falling on the ground hard. Ding then gets furious at Wei and asks him angrily if he was scared that the ball wouldn't go inside if he took a shot himself, or that he would miss the rebound opportunity. He further says harshly that if he doesn't think he is cut out for it and can't handle the pressure, then he should get off the court right now, but Wei gets angry as well at the accusation. Seeing that team conflict, the coach quickly requests a timeout from the referee to stop things. She tells Ding not to get hasty or emotional because the other team has got 2 tall players dominating inside, and this is the city final they are talking about and it's important, but Ding says frustrated that he doesn't like Wei not being able to shoot confidently when he has the ball. On the other hand, Shanha's coach feels good that New Bridge's morale has been shattered and broken, so now they are the ones who get to decide where this game goes from here. After that, the match continues with Ding scoring both free throws that surprise everyone, and New Bridge is 13 points behind, so they have to score with this offensive play. Wei then also plays aggressively, running all around the field, and when he gets the ball, he quickly shoots it and it goes straight inside the net. It turns out, Shanha High School just hasn't been able to increase their lead for a while now, and the match continues with Team New Bridge completely dominating against Shanha and controlling the pace. On the other hand, Ling thinks that Shanha is doing a great job getting back on defense quickly, but it's just New Bridge that is doing quick attacks and fast breaks constantly. At the same time, Wei gets the ball in his hands and he quickly runs towards the basket with speed, but instead of shooting himself, he does a fake move and passes it to Ding for the better shot. However, Ding recalls what Wei told him earlier about trusting each other, so he takes a shot confidently and scores a point successfully, which means that there are only 7 points left to win for them to tie the game. Anna and Femi start yelling at the boys, saying they are only 7 points behind right now, so they have to defend against this possession and stop them. Hearing that, Wei starts calculating everything in his head and says that they have to even the score before the game moves into the 4th quarter to have a chance. The game then continues and the double coverage from Ding successfully puts a restraint on Zhang's maneuvers and movements, but it also gave Chen some space to operate freely. With 1 minute to go before the end of the 3rd quarter, Zhou got the ball from Zoe and scores a basket that New Bridge badly needed to close the gap. Epha then gets excited, but the coach says calmly that before this he kept trying to take on the other team with his weak points and didn't see where he had the advantage clearly, so it's lucky he realized sooner rather than later. After that possession, Wei and Zhang go one-on-one with each other physically, and Wei manages to steal the ball from him with great timing that shocks everyone watching. Wei then passes the ball to Ding, who then quickly runs towards the basket with speed, and before he could score himself, he passes the ball back to Wei for the better shot. After that play, Wei manages to score a point with a powerful slam dunk, and now New Bridge is just 3 points behind Shanha on the scoreboard. Zhe then tells Baldy excitedly that Ding really trusts Wei now and he could finally see that there are more players on the court than just him playing alone. On the other hand, Ling says impressed that this game is getting way more interesting than he thought it would be at the start. Coach Ding then tells everyone seriously that there is not much time left in the third quarter now, so they should defend against their upcoming offensive possession, and the rest of them should just cover those two tall players in the paint area. Shanha players then throw the ball towards the basket as the final countdown runs below 4 seconds remaining, but it turns out it's a rebound off the rim that Wei tries to catch aggressively, but he ends up falling hard on his wrist, which snaps and breaks. The coach then substitutes for Wei because of his injury immediately, but Anna gets worried as Wei is the only post player in the team who can match up inside. Wei insists that he can play through the pain, but Anna and Feimi try to tell him firmly that he can't play or else his injury might get worse and cause permanent damage. Anna then approaches Daan desperately, asking if he could help the team out, but he ignores her completely, so she tries to ask the coach to convince him as he is the perfect player who could stand there and do something against the tall players. However, Wei still says stubbornly that he wants to play and help the team, but the coach tells him seriously that he can't play against the dual towers with that injury of his wrist. The coach then tells everyone to get ready for the match continuation and tells Wei to just trust his teammates for once and let them handle it. Afterward, the match continues with Zhang scoring right after the whistle blows, and then the crowd starts cheering for Shanha loudly. Ling's coach says that without Wei in the game, New Bridge will have no way to turn the game around and win. The ball then gets to Epha, who faces another mysterious player of Shanha defending him, but he still runs as fast as he could and throws a three-pointer shot successfully. Now, the deficit is suddenly down to just 2 points, and Ling's coach thinks that there is no way to turn around the match anymore, and New Bridge has now completely given up defending in the paint area without Wei. The ball then gets to Ding, who also scores a goal with determination, and with that basket, only 4 minutes are left in the game. After that score, the ball gets to Zhe, who goes against Zhang one-on-one, but then surprisingly, Zhe does a crotch pass move and breaks through his defense. Zhe then manages to score as well with a layup that surprises everyone in the crowd and shocks them. Zhe then falls unconscious on the ground from exhaustion, and with 3 minutes and 52 seconds remaining in the game, Zhe was substituted out due to physical fatigue. After that, Shanha showed no mercy with Wei and Zhe out of the game as they kept scoring steadily in the court as always and dominating. The ball then gets passed to Epha, who then scores another 2 points for the team. The ball then gets to Ding, who struggles against 2 players of Shanha double-teaming him, but then suddenly, Ling tells Ding from the stands that he is way better than that performance, so he should just prove him right and show his skills. Hearing that, Ding gets all hyped up, so he breaks through the defense with power and then, he manages to score the goal for the team successfully. On the other hand, Shanha's coach gets furious and tells his team sternly that if they can't play in the provincial tournament this year and win, they won't get into any good universities for their future. At the bench, Zhe tells Daan that there is only 2 minutes left to go in the game, so he should just stop pretending to read his book and pay attention. Watching Daan not showing any interest in the game makes him furious, because he is watching the entire game while pretending that he isn't interested at all. The match continues with Epha getting the ball in his hands, and he quickly tries to shoot a basket, but Zhang blocks the shot with his reach. The ball then ends up getting to Chen, who then passes it to his teammate quickly, and then they score another basket easily. Seeing that basket, Ling's team and the other teams who were watching the match leave the stadium, saying there is no point in watching the match anymore as Shanha are the clear winners now. Wei then gets furious at the coach and begs him desperately to put him back in the game, but the coach says that he won't do that no matter what Wei says. At that exact moment, Daan gets up from the bench and asks if they got a jersey for him to wear. After that, Daan gets to the court and Zhang is quite scared because Daan seems as tall as him. The match then continues with Ding shooting the ball, but it gets rebound towards Zhang, so Daan appears out of nowhere and intercepts the shot. The ball then gets to Baldy, who then manages to score. Now that New Bridge is just 5 points behind the score, Zhang tries to score another point for his team in the paint, but Daan blocks the shot with his height. The ball then gets to Epha, who does a counterattack by running towards the other side of the court with speed. He then passes the ball back to Ding, who manages to score successfully, and now New Bridge is just 3 points behind on the scoreboard. The match then continues with none of the teams scoring another point for a while, and they keep on passing the ball to each other back and forth before Shanha calls a timeout to regroup. During break, the Shanha's coach tells Zhang that he is the same size as Daan, so he shouldn't be afraid and show his skills. After that, the match begins with Shanha stealing the ball from Ding, and it gets to Chen, who tries to run past Ding, but Epha appears in front of him that gets him to fall on the ground and he then shoots. However, the referee calls it a defensive foul, so the basket doesn't count. The ball then gets to Epha, who manages to score, and now New Bridge are only 1 point behind, but then, the coach tells everyone to do a full court press. After that, both teams go head to head with each other, passing the ball to their teammates, but in the end, someone from the opposite team ends up stealing the ball. Afterward, there are only 4 seconds left on the clock and Zhang shoots the ball that goes straight towards the basket for the potential game winner, but before it could get inside the rim, Daan jumps towards the ball and tips it inside for his own team. With that, New Bridge wins the match by just 1 point. Make sure to like and subscribe the channel for more sports manhwa recaps.